Attention all passengers in the lobby area. This train will be departing shortly for DX Central Live. Please be sure to have your boarding ticket ready. Additionally, it is recommended that you have your AM or FM radio on your person at all times while the train is in motion, as this will allow you to report receptions during the voyage. If you have not yet done so, it is recommended that you subscribe to this channel so you will be notified when new videos are available, including future voyages of DX Central Live. Thank you for travelling with us, and we hope you enjoy our journey on DX Central Live.
Hello loves, it's your girl Rachel, and welcome to the DX party. We are kicking off another Friday night here at North Shore Studios, and I'm proper excited to have you lot with us. Lloyd's been away on a business trip, but the bands didn't sit around and wait for him, as evidenced by your fantastic logs this week for our 650 to 690 challenge. Now let's start the night with a bit of a classic, as we are searching for that digital spark. This is The Signal and the Noise. just sets the mood just right, and I have a sudden urge to go hang out at the shopping mall. This is the DX party, and we are warming up for showtime at 23:45 UTC, 18:45 Central Time. We are bringing you great DX-themed music, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the RF-inspired tunes. This is a great time to get in your shout-outs, and just head to dxchallenges.com/shoutout and let us know what you have been hearing this week. In addition to talking DX, I've seen you lot chatting up a storm about antennas, specifically those terminated cache setups. We'll be diving into all that technical magic later tonight. But for now, let's keep climbing. Here is Skyline Resonance. Speaking of Skyline Heights, did you see the photos in the Slack channel from Lloyd while he was playing with his new NXP Nano at 35,000 feet above central Louisiana? Talk about some high altitude DXing. Well, you don't have to fly above the clouds to snag some DX. If you manage to get some new ones this week from more earthy perches, a new log, a new state, new country, or a story from your own DX adventure, just hit that link pinned in the chat. Go on then. Let's get funky with Talkbox Tropo.
I see the clouds in the sky. The MUF is going high. From the coast to the bay, I hear the music from far away. Talkbox Tropo, funk it up. Feel the signal in my cup. Talkbox Tropo, don't you stop till the starts to drop.
Proper groove on that one. Quick reminder for the Logbook fans. The patron exclusive Zoom call last Sunday was a massive success. It's all about that deep analysis into your data. If you are a patron and missed it, don't fret. The recorded version is available in Patreon right now. If you are not a patron, just head over to patreon.com/DXCentral to sign up and you will get exclusive access to that Zoom call, future Zoom calls, early access to videos and podcast episodes and more. Plus, it helps us keep the lights on, the servers running and the DX pouring in when we get a second to turn the dials. Right, let's slow things down and head across the ocean. We keep our international series rolling with Der Ionosphere Wanderer.
So, die Nacht ist klar. Ich höre das Licht, die Stille spricht, entfernte Stimmen in den Wellen schwimmen. Jean Charming, der Wanderer in der Nacht, Synchronization, über den Ozean, a better plan, the path is clear. Do you hear me? Ich höre dich. Propagation, Ionosphere. Der Wanderer in der Nacht, Synchronization, der Wanderer in der Nacht, Synchronization,
Hypnotic, isn't it? We are also saying a bit of a bittersweet goodbye tonight to the 650 to 690 kilohertz challenge. You lot did a cracking job on that one with some brilliant logs coming in. But don't go anywhere because a brand new challenge starts tonight. Let's finish the party with a bit of a jam. The hook of the high band.
watching for a flicker in the gray. A little bit of magic coming very soon to pull 1,000 miles into the day. I'm looking at the chart and the MUF is climbing like a fever in the wild. The static's getting thin and it's losing breath. The FM dial is catching on a fire. It's the hook that keeps you turning. It's the pull of the unknown with a dipole burning and a signal of our own. From the Gulf up to the border in a sudden flash, a station from the coast is breaking through. I'm digging for the ID in the rhythmic crash before it disappears back into blue. Don't let it fade, just let it play. It's the hook that keeps you turning. It's the pull of the unknown with a dipole burning and a signal of our own. Catch it while it's hot. Before the opening drops.
All right, my loves, that is me done for the night. But the fun is just getting started. I need to go see what Marky Poo is wearing tonight. I heard a rumour he is just wearing jeans and a T-shirt, but there is no way that is real. I mean, that man was born in cashmere and wrapped in merino wool. Before I go, a massive thank you to our sponsors, the International Radio Club of America at ircaonline.org, the National Radio Club at nationalradioclub.org, and the Spectrum Monitor magazine at thespectrummonitor.com. And a huge shout out to our patrons. Your continued support is such an important part of our success, and I know Lloyd just wants to do even more for you. Don't miss you. You can join them in our very own Studio C by heading over to patreon.com/DXCentral for early access and those exclusive streams. Don't forget to get in your shout outs to let us know what you have been hearing at dxchallenges.com/shoutout. And while you are there, you may as well make sure you are registered on our DX Challenges site so you are able to participate in our fun challenges. And we have a brand new one launching tonight. Just head to dxchallenges.com and smash that register button in the top right corner to sign up. Stay right where you are. Mark Monroe is up next with the countdown. See you on the other side.
DX Central Live.
Thank you, Rachel. And yes, jeans and a t-shirt I bought in 1996 from an Oasis UK tour might seem out of character for me, but that is where I remind you there is Mark at work, and then there is Mark outside of work, and every once in a while those two will meet up for a proper good time, a little less than 10 minutes until we go live. Tonight, Lloyd makes the transition from his business trip back to the dial. We'll jump in on the terminated antenna discussions that have been in the Slack channel this week. But before all of that, we start the countdown with the drift and the drive.
I'm in the basement. I'm in the dark. I'm looking for a digital spark. The meter is hitting the red. I've got the signal inside my head. The drift, the drive, the bands are coming alive. From the north to the south, I've got the taste in my mouth. It's the drift and the drive. Yeah, we're feeling it. So alive. It's the drift and the drive. The frequencies are gonna thrive.
Looking at the technical side tonight, I know Lloyd is scratching his head over some difficulties with his TEF radios he uses to autolog RDS. Anyone else noticing continuous scan issues on the latest version? If your scan is stopping after one cycle, you're not alone. We head toward the distance now. Here is Beyond the Horizon.
Sun is going down, but the mood is rising. Sun City. The audio is coming in crystal clear. The way she's fading out is a crying pity. So I'm gonna hold on while I have her here. Upper side band. Lower side band. It doesn't matter where we go, as long as we find the flow. Beyond the horizon, 1,000 miles away. Yeah, the signal is rising, turning the night into day. Keep the dial turning, keep the fire burning.
Speaking of horizons, Lloyd was keeping an eye on the horizon last night as his plane landed back here in New Orleans while storms were bearing down on us. In fact, at minimum, some Doppler indicated rotation went right over North Shore Studios, if you can believe it, within minutes of pulling back in the driveway, luggage in hand. Phew! The latest challenge officially launches tonight. Ensure you are registered at dxchallenges.com so you're ready to log when Lloyd gives the word. It's time to move from ground wave to the sky. This is the Cosmic Carrier.
On a wave of light, moving through the velvet night. I've got the coordinates in hand, searching for a distant land. It's a cosmic carrier in the air. I can feel it everywhere. From the silence to the sound, look at what the dial has found. The cosmic carrier, bringing the future into the past. The cosmic carrier in the groove, making the whole atmosphere move.
That'll do it. Grab your gear and settle in for your shout-outs, the start of a new challenge and more as we head now to Studio A, where Lloyd is standing by and ready to start the show. Right after a word from our sponsor.
DX Central Live is brought to you in part by
From long wave to satellites, medium wave through HF, ham radio to scanners. If you can DX it, the Spectrum Monitor has you covered. Editor and publisher Ken Reitz has assembled a who's who of radio writers to share their knowledge and expertise from a wide range of DX-related topics. Each month, the Spectrum Monitor's columnists dive into their specialties to give readers tips, tricks, the latest news and station updates, and more. The Spectrum Monitor also provides a monthly assortment of feature articles that give in-depth insight into the past, present, and future of DXing. You can get a full year of the Spectrum Monitor for only $24. Individual issues from the current year are available for $3 each. You can also purchase previous years of the Spectrum Monitor in their entirety for as low as $12. For more information, visit thespectrummonitor.com. That's thespectrummonitor.com. For more than 90 years, the National Radio Club has been at the forefront of providing DXers with the latest in station news, DX-related technical information, and reception reports from DXers around the world. The NRC's AM radio log is the most expansive and detailed resource of station information for U.S. and Canadian radio stations that is available in any format. The club's publication, the DX News, is available in both print and electronic format and provides the latest information on call letter and format changes, construction permits, and other information to help keep DXers informed of the latest updates they may hear on the air. For more information, visit their website at nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org. The International Radio Club of America gives DXers incredible value by putting important station information right at your fingertips. The club's e-publication, the DX Monitor, includes DXer loggings, station information updates, international loggings, and more. Other club publications include the IRCA Mexican Log, a must-have resource for any DXer that chases stations from Mexico, the TIS-HAR list, the IRCA slogan list, sunset sunrise maps, and DXer technical guides. The joint IRCA-NRC email reflector and groups.io group is a hub for real-time DX conditions, station news, and DX-related conversation. For more information, visit ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org.
Can't get enough DX? Then the DX Central from the Static podcast is for you. Take DX Central on the go and listen to episodes from DX Central Live, interviews with prominent members of the DX community, tips, tricks, how-tos, your DX memories and stories. And that's just the start. You can find the From the Static podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Listen Notes, or anywhere you get podcasts, or by visiting FromTheStatic.net. That's FromTheStatic.net. For stories, signals, and voices from across the airwaves, don't miss the DX Central From the Static podcast.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
This week on the DX Files, Lloyd has a little misunderstanding with the federal government. It turns out the authorities don't share the same passion for pocket-sized radios at flight level.
All right, let's try this again. Mr. Van Horn, my partner found this device in your carry-on. It is cleverly designed to look like a pocket-sized radio, an NXP Nano with custom firmware. But who needs a radio like that at 35,000 feet, Mr. Van Horn? If you ask me, it looks like a scrambler, like one of the old interceptors we used in the Cold War.
Look, Agent, I'm just searching for elusive signals. You know, signals that I probably should have no business being able to hear, but when you have specialized equipment and you know exactly when and where and even how to listen, you can pretty much tune them in from almost anywhere.
You know what? Save it, Mr. Van Horn. I've seen your logs. Look at this. Coordinates, signal strengths, a map with lines on it crisscrossing the country with many of them centered around specific locations. Are those entry points, Mr. Van Horn? Targets?
No, they're not targets. I mean, they're specific points of origin I've been tracking for years. I mean, I plot the coordinates so I can determine the exact path the signal took to get to me, right? And that helps me be able to triangulate with my antenna and know exactly where to point it to, so maybe I can get in on the opening.
And what about these references to someone called Ease? Apparently you've been looking for them for months. Is Ease your handler?
Ease? No, I mean, I have been chasing Ease across the country for months, I guess. It's elusive, it's unpredictable, and frankly, it controls my entire schedule. When Ease show up, I have to kind of drop everything. Really, I have to. It's kind of the only way to get the high-value data that I'm after, if I'm going to be honest with you.
You claim you were scanning for IDs. Just whose IDs were you looking for, Mr. Van Horn?
I just need a positive identification. It can be voice, it can be a digital code, whatever will help me know exactly who it is that I'm dealing with. Once I have that ID, I log the time, I log the strength, and then I'm on to the next one. It's actually kind of a clean operation.
Answer me. Who are you working for? Is it the Venezuelans?
Venezuelans? I should be so lucky. I've been trying to get a clear intercept from Venezuela for years, but propagation just hasn't really been in my favor, unfortunately. If I could pull in a signal from Venezuela, do you know, that would be like the highlight of my career.
Well, where you're going, pal, no radio signal is going to find you, or your antennas for a long, long time.
Well, there you have it. Apparently, explaining sporadic E to a federal agent is about as effective as trying to explain Lloyd's antenna farm to his neighbors. I mean, you've got to admire the commitment. You know, most people use their in-flight time to watch a movie or sleep. But not our Lloyd. Nope. He'd rather spend it risking being placed on the no-fly list just to hear an FM station from Little Rock. Honestly, it's a wonder they let him keep the radio. Or his shoelaces.
It's a Friday night. Lloyd in the North Shore, setting frequencies right. AM and FM, the airwaves collide. DX Central Live, where the signals can't hide. Tuning in the static, chasing down the sounds. Every single signal is magic we have found. All radios hum, the chatters all agree. DX Central Live is the place to be. Folks in the chat, shout out your call. From east to west, we're breaking down the walls. It's the magic of the night, where frequencies fly. Join us now on DX Central Live.
From the Gulf South
To your corner of the world.
this is DX Central Live.
Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
From the North Shore Studios here in beautiful Mandeville, Louisiana. Here in Studio A, where we bring you DX Central Live, Season 6, Episode 23. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty. 8 episodes left, including tonight. And then wrapping everything up on May 1st. Hopefully you've had a great week of DX. I've had time for, like, that much DX. You just heard about it. Didn't go well. But that's another story for another day. We got your shout-outs to get to. We've got a new challenge to get to tonight. It's one I'm pretty excited about. It's one that we've never done before. We've never done this challenge. We've kind of skirted around this challenge, so to speak. But we've never actually done this particular one. And there's going to be a very unique scoring system that I had to have AI assistance last night to flush it out. And man, it works great. So can't wait to get you guys in there and start getting logs in so we can make sure everything is going according to what we did the testing with last night. So excited to be announcing that here in the coming hour. We've got Tropo, whatever. We've got Tropo over on our shortwave Central Kiwi right now. Or not Kiwi, the TEF radio, the 6686 with that big 65-foot high omnidirectional antenna. We've got Corpus Christi, Texas, coming in right now on 98.3, which is a frequency where I have a HD signal, probably one of the strongest HD signals in New Orleans, from 98.5 WYLD. So if we're getting here, let's hear the audio. I haven't listened to this yet. Oh, well. It's the internet. Let's try this connection again. Shall we?
All right, so we're going to test this out here and get this going here. But we've got audio coming in from Corpus Christi area. We have RDS coming in clearly. There's the Lale coming in right there off the web server. So we're going to continue to work on trying to get that up and running here. But we've got that going, and we're going to also see what other stuff we have coming in here off to the side of that one. Now on the... Of course, I go away from it and it comes up. On the regular FMDX web server here with our 33-foot log periodic, that one we're not seeing them. We're not seeing them on the headless with the 9-element Yagi or the S antenna. But let me see the S antenna. Maybe that might be happening. No, we're not. I don't know. Is that's now happening on both of those servers? I wonder if that's something going on here with the web server stuff. Anyway. So we've got some Tropo coming in. We're going to check conditions on that. We've got some DX to get to. We got to finish up 650 to 690, our final couple days here of that range that we're working on here, 650 to 690 before we announce our new challenge. We are going to talk a bit about the FMDX adventure that we had here on Tuesday as we were flying to Dallas, and talk a little bit about some of the conditions, some of the stuff that we caught there on the plane, because we did actually do a little bit of FMDX. That part was a true story. And we also will be talking a bit about some Slack channel conversations that I saw while I was out of town. You guys talking about CAS antennas, super loops, terminated loop antennas. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, kind of revisit that topic. We haven't kind of dove into the CAS terminated loop antenna conversation in a while. So we'll get back to that and kind of talk a bit about what those look like, how they work. We have several here that we use at our different receivers, and they work really, really well. We also want to talk a bit about, as we are kind of getting ready, we're going to really dive into FM season here as we get into April. But I also want to touch on, as we get closer, there's a couple little tips and tricks, little house cleaning type stuff that we can do here. One of those I've talked about, feed line and antenna maintenance, ground connection, stuff like that. Those are some great things to be doing this time of the year before you really kind of get into the heat of everything. But another little thing that I did, so some of you guys know about the e-skip alerts that you can get from FM List, right? They'll email you when there is a sporadic e-opening that is for your general area, right? Like if there are potential that might be there for conditions to be favorable for your area. Well, I figured out a way to have that texted to me. Now, it's not, FM List doesn't offer that as a service because they're based out of Europe. That'd be really expensive. But I figured out a way to, once that email hits your inbox, to have that texted to you. And then once you have that text message coming in, you can always assign a specific notification sound to your text message on your phone, right? So we're going to talk a bit about that process and some things that I learned, little tips and tricks that I learned, if you're interested in doing that, because I've already seen it come a couple times now come through, and I got that notification, that text message, before I did the email. And it was ding, there it was, boom. Now I know there's an opening potentially going on. I think this is going to be really nice come FMDX season. But as we are now talking about FM, let's go ahead and start there. We'll come back after that. We'll do a little bit of AM on the Kiwi, but we're going to start off on the FM and just check these tropo conditions that we might have popping up here. So, starting off with a little bit of FMDX. This one brought to you by the folks at the Spectrum Monitor, thespectrummonitor.com. thespectrummonitor.com. If you want to go and look into getting a subscription, you can get a full year. You can get individual issues, whichever kind of suits your fancy. I just dropped off my article last weekend for the April issue. So I'll be having an article in the April issue coming up on AM and FMDX. So you'll want to check that out. All right. It looks like the connection keeps dropping on all of these web servers, not just the Shortwave Central one, but all of these seem like they're dropping here. So that's interesting. I don't know if there's something going on with the web servers right now, but let's just see if we can get this connection here on the Shortwave Central one and see what we have on Tropo. Well, it looks like the audio is not coming through. I think there might be something going on with some of these, because I see the same thing happening on the headless. Yeah, see, it's not even connecting here. The main with the log periodic, this one's not showing up, so something's going on. That's interesting. And these are all three at different locations, so I don't think it's anything here on my home network. You guys can see me, right? Yeah, we're still connected. I don't see any drop frames or anything like that here. So, yeah, we got that big gigabit internet. We should be fine here. So, looks like the Kiwis are working nice. Let's go take a look at the Kiwis here. We'll start off with a little bit of 650 to 670. And I saw earlier that our friend Mesa Mike Westfall up in Virginia. There we go. Okay. Which one of y'all is it? Okay, it's this one. Mesa Mike was talking about 670 kilohertz with a little bit of Cuban wobbler kind of taking over the frequency. So let's take a listen. There's been some Rebeldi and Cuban station issues.
DX Central Live, top of the hour alert.
All right. We are on 670. Now, I'm not hearing the wobbler. I hear some baseball. Sounds like maybe some baseball. Let's take a look here on 670 on our low noise vertical. That might be a little more omnidirectional here. Barry says some transatlantic. There's a wobbler. There it is. We just have to look down to the south. That's a big wobble. So if you need Cuba, if you have not yet logged Rebeldi on 670, this is a good time to try for him and listen for that wobble. Point your antennas down south. See if you can hear them. Let's look at 680 now. Yeah, I kind of figured that might be a little, but we're going to throw this in the lower sideband. We've got some basketball here on 680. Is it ESPN Memphis? Is it Atlanta?
Cunningham and Robinson lob over the top. Stewart stealing out, Javon Small.
Let's take a look at 660.
Isaiah Stewart.
Denuncia al 855-33-000. No mires a otro lado. Las personas no se compran. Gobierno de Quintana Roo. Unidos para transformar que la capital de la cultura maya en Quintana Roo.
Son las 7 en punto. Ucanaliles, Quintón, San José I, Santa Isabel, Quimacuala Tités, Dios Bótica Chenchiquinqués, Radio Chan Santa Cruz.
Este programa es clasificación A, apto para todo público. Anuncia el Ayuntamiento de Playa del Carmen que se reportará el...
You can do a computer restart here on the web servers. See if that might help. Looks like at least one of these radios, these PCs, was pending a Windows update. And that's when they usually tend to act a little squirrely. So we got Radio Chan Santa Cruz here on 660. XECPR. Just heard a 660 AM The Answer ID. That's KSKY up in Texas. We can probably hear them a little bit better here on the shortwave central Kiwi, actually. Maybe not.
President Trump is realigning the global order, and the consequences are
Yep, every single one of these PCs had a Windows update pending. My guess is that's why they were choppy. So we're going to restart all three of those machines. So there's that one. Let's check 650. We've got WSM. And let's check 650 here on the North Shore Studios Kiwi. Our one here at the house.
Thank you. How you doing?
Same.
So great to see you. I am Steve. And it's great to be back in this circle. The Grand Ole Opry on a big.
There's somebody else in there on the northwest one here at the house.
Oh my gosh, look at this front row right here. Woo! Hey, it's great to be back out at the Grand Ole Opry. We got a great show for you. I walk in these doors here and I'm immediately flooded with great memories of playing here.
Northeast Antenna's got WSM solo.
Right after the dinosaur period, I think it was a long time ago. I played with
As does the East, but our 305 Northwest had somebody else in there.
The master, the chief, Mr. Chet Atkins. I played here with him a few times.
They're weak.
When I was inducted, I remember
But that's a frequency you don't hear much beyond WSM.
And I was just rambling on, much like I'm doing right now. And Chet bends over and goes, I think you should sing now. So I did. But
Let's check 660 now.
Very serious and progressive disease where your nerves start to break down. Eventually it leads to balance problems, falls, complete loss of independence, and can lead to amputation.
Hi, I'm Dr. Matt Thomas, DC, founder of 360 Wellness. Our program addresses the underlying causes and doesn't simply mask their symptoms with medication. In fact, many patients start experiencing relief from neuropathy symptoms within weeks.
Pick up the phone right now and call 469-669.
That's got to be the answer there.
To schedule your free consultation and exam. We're here to help.
Your beloved dog and a stranger are both drowning. They can only save one. Who do you save? Every time Dennis Prager asks that question, his audience splits three ways. 1/3 chooses the dog, 1/3 chooses the stranger, and 1/3 aren't sure. Why? Because we live in an age where increasingly feelings define right and wrong. But if morality is based on emotion, then murder, rape, and theft are just opinions. And if people feel justified, why is rioting or destruction wrong at all? In his new book, If There Is No God, Dennis Prager explains why civilizations cannot survive without objective morality and why Judeo-Christian values shape the moral foundations of the free world.
If you claim that certain things are good, certain
All right, let's check that Tropo, see if we can get that audio working here on the Shortwave Central TEF. There we go. Pulling up now. And I don't have audio just yet. Okay. We'll keep trying. I don't know if that's just the connections or what's up with that, but we'll keep trying on those. All right, so we've checked 650. There's WSM and maybe somebody in their week along with them. We checked 660. We had the answer. We had Radio Chan Santa Cruz. 670, we had the Loud Wobbler from Cuba. 680, we had some sports, probably either Memphis or Atlanta from here. 690 is my local here in New Orleans, so we already kind of know what that one is. So those are kind of the ones we were seeing during the week when we were here in town. That's the usual stuff we would expect to hear. So no surprises there. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to do some more looking on the FM. We'll look at that FM Tropo forecast because it looks like some of the rest of you guys might be getting in some Tropo here over the next couple of days. So we'll take a look at that. We'll also talk a bit about the FM that I did get to DX this week from 35,000 feet and getting my hand slapped for it. And we'll talk a bit about antennas, specifically terminated loop antennas for AM DX, super loops, the CASs, all that good stuff, and how great they work, and some little tips and tricks that I've learned over the years that might help you out a little bit. So don't go anywhere, my friends. More DX Central Live is coming your way right after this.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
For more than 90 years, the National Radio Club has been at the forefront of providing DXers with the latest in station news, DX-related technical information, and reception reports from DXers around the world. The NRC's AM radio log is the most expansive and detailed resource of station information for U.S. and Canadian radio stations that is available in any format. The club's publication, the DX News, is available in both print and electronic format and provides the latest information on call letter and format changes, construction permits, and other information to help keep DXers informed of the latest updates they may hear on the air. For more information, visit their website at nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org. The International Radio Club of America gives DXers incredible value by putting important station information right at your fingertips. The club's e-publication, the DX Monitor, includes DXer loggings, station information updates, international loggings, and more. Other club publications include the IRCA Mexican Log, a must-have resource for any DXer that chases stations from Mexico, the TIS-HAR list, the IRCA slogan list, sunset sunrise maps, and DXer technical guides. The joint IRCA-NRC email reflector and groups.io group is a hub for real-time DX conditions, station news, and DX-related conversation. For more information, visit ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org. From long wave to satellites, medium wave through HF, ham radio to scanners. If you can DX it, the Spectrum Monitor has you covered. Editor and publisher Ken Reitz has assembled a who's who of radio writers to share their knowledge and expertise from a wide range of DX-related topics. Each month, the Spectrum Monitor's columnists dive into their specialties to give readers tips, tricks, the latest news and station updates, and more. The Spectrum Monitor also provides a monthly assortment of feature articles that give in-depth insight into the past, present, and future of DXing. You can get a full year of the Spectrum Monitor for only $24. Individual issues from the current year are available for $3 each. You can also purchase previous years of the Spectrum Monitor in their entirety for as low as $12. For more information, visit thespectrummonitor.com. That's thespectrummonitor.com.
Can't get enough DX? Then the DX Central from the Static podcast is for you. Take DX Central on the go and listen to episodes from DX Central Live, interviews with prominent members of the DX community, tips, tricks, how-tos, your DX memories and stories. And that's just the start. You can find the From the Static podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Listen Notes, or anywhere you get podcasts, or by visiting FromTheStatic.net. That's FromTheStatic.net. For stories, signals, and voices from across the airwaves, don't miss the DX Central From the Static podcast.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
Gefrorener Boden, gefrorener Draht. Suche das Signal in der Nacht. Das Messgerät schlägt aus, die Nadel bleibt stehen. Im Nordlichtnebel werde ich gehen. Ich höre Radio. Ich höre Radio. Die Schwingung, die wieder
from the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in beautiful Mandeville, Louisiana. We bring you live DX conversation, tips and tricks, and a whole lot more. We got your shout-outs to get to, so make sure you go to dxchallenges.com/shoutout to get those in. We'll read those out here on the air. We'll celebrate together. We're finishing up 650 to 690. Our challenge from this last week, we'll be wrapping that up here pretty much the top of the hour, and we get ready for our next challenge they'll be announcing, and it's I can't wait. You guys are going to love this one. All right, so let's talk a bit about antennas, AMDX antennas. And it's ironic, not ironic. It's actually, he's here most weeks. Our friend Kaz, Neil Kazaroz, in the chat right now, is the man behind the main antenna we're going to talk about here, and that's the Kaz antenna. So Kaz, if I say anything stupid, get in there in the chat and say no, Lloyd screwed up. So the Kaz antenna is a squashed terminated delta loop. And I'm going to pull it up here on screen so you guys can kind of see it. For those of you who are not familiar, we're going to pull up the Kaz antenna cookbook here. Here we go. All right, let's pull this up on screen. That way you guys can kind of follow along with what I'm talking about here. We'll zoom in. So this is a DKAZ right here, but you take that and cut that in half, and you have a Kaz antenna. Okay, so one of those would be a regular Kaz antenna. So what we're talking about here is a squashed delta loop that is terminated on one side. And that termination allows you to null signals. I'll just keep it right there. Null signals from one direction. So if I have an antenna that's pointed north and south, and I want to terminate the north side to get rid of signals to my north, and I want to pull in stations from my south, then I would put the termination side on the north side, and I'd put my feed line input point where my transformer is on the south side. That's how that basically works. The transformer is usually like a 16-to-1 balun, and you can buy some of those. They're not as easy to find as they were. They're the Wellbrook FLG 100LNs. These guys were really, really good for this. They had the transformer inside. They also had 23 dB of gain. So you would just plug in your antenna, top wire and bottom wire on here, and then you'd have your feed line over here with a B and C, and you'd have a box in the inside of your house, and then boom, you'd have super amplified AM signals coming in on your antenna. I've moved away from the amplified ones because here in the New Orleans area where I am, we have a ton of stations. So I was always having to apply about 20 dB of attenuation to be able to prevent the overload. So if you get 23 dB of gain, but you're applying 20 dB of attenuation, are you really doing anything with that amplifier? And the answer was no, I wasn't. So what I basically did is we started now doing all hand wound transformers here at North Shore Studios, DX Central, that we wind ourselves, then we make the box, and they're super easy to do. But you basically have your feed line on the one side where you have your 16-to-1 transmitter or transformer, and then you have a bottom wire that goes along the ground, about a foot, 2 feet off the ground is usually kind of the normal for most folks. I have one that we have that's a little more elevated, about 10 feet off the ground, which does work. It works really, really well, actually. And it seems to actually help with the noise a little bit, but we'll talk about that later. So you have one wire that goes along the base, and then you have another wire that goes up from one side up to an apex, and then back down to the other side. That's your basic design of a Kaz antenna. And on the other side, from your transformer, you have a resistor, and that resistor is what terminates the antenna on that end, which provides you with your back end null. The value of that resistor is going to vary according to what frequency you're on, your ground, all kinds of different factors. That's why most folks like to have some sort of variable resistor that they can adjust themselves manually, or a remote variable resistor like a vactrol that they can control from inside the shack. There are some folks that do prefer a fixed value resistor though, so it just depends on your flavor, what preference you have. As far as the dimensions of these antennas go, mine I have are about 70 feet long, 60 to 70 feet long or so. And then I try to get my apex up at minimum 15 feet. 15 feet by 60 foot long is kind of some of my ones that I have here, like my northeast, southwest. That's a 15 by 60. But you can also kind of experiment with that a little bit. And one of the ones that we have here at DX Central, actually around the corner at Shortwave Central, that you guys know I talk about, is our Shortwave Central Kiwi antenna, the KiwiCaz, and it is the apex is 25 feet from the bottom wire, from that base wire we're talking about. It's 25 feet, and it's 72 feet long between the two endpoints. So it's a 25 by 72 foot Kaz. And that one works really, really well. And I find that the taller that Kaz is, it has a little more gain. And it also can lower or change your frequency of where in the AM band it's going to be really situated at to provide you with the best nulls and the most gain and things like that. It can make, if it's too big, it can make the higher end of the band a little deaf. If it's too small, it can make the lower end of the band a little deaf, or you can kind of mess up your back end nulls a little bit. So generally speaking, something in the 15 by 60 or 20 by 70 range is generally speaking for a Kaz. What I have found works really, really well. 20, 25 feet high, 60 to 70 feet long. That's a pretty good sweet spot for just one single Kaz. You can make them longer. I've done I had a 22 by 90 at one time, and it worked really, really, really well. So you can make them longer, and you can make them a little bit taller, but just kind of experiment what you have for your dimensions. And then your feed line comes in, and you put that, if you're not using an amplified transformer, you just have your feed line come straight in, goes to your radio. Now, I recommend a common mode choke on any antenna that you're using a coaxial feed line for, regardless of what kind of antenna it is. A common mode choke on your coax feed line at the radio is really, really great at getting rid of a bunch of kind of the common mode noise. If you want to do a D-Kaz, it's a double Kaz. Your D-Kaz antenna is actually two Kazes, and basically you have your sky wire. I call it the sky wire. So you have your one wire that goes up to your apex, and then it comes back down again. And then usually a lot of folks, when they do that, that wire is now the base wire of the second Kaz that's in the sequence. So you have one Kaz where the wire starts out, goes up to the top, comes back down, and then goes along the base of the other antenna. And then you have one that starts over on the other side, it goes up, comes back down, and now it's the base wire of the first one. So that's what a lot of people do. I haven't played a lot with D-Kazs. I've done a couple, and they work really, really well. I know Tim Trump, our friend up in Michigan, the DX Magnet, he uses his D-Kazs to great effect. And they typically are somewhere about 140, 160 feet in length, and they kind of carry that same about 20 to 25 or so foot apex from the base wire. For the apex itself, what can you use to support a wire up that high? Well, if you have a tree, that is fantastic. That's a great way to do it. I've done that. I have quite a few of my Kazs where the center is a tree. And in fact, our big 25 by 72 Shortwave Central Kiwi, I have a rope that goes up 35 feet into a tree, and then there's a pulley on there, and then that's what's pulling up the middle of the sky wire and pulling that up to that height. It's around 35 feet, but then the base wire is 10 feet off the ground. So the base wire is actually 25 feet from the apex, but it's 10 feet off the ground. So it's a total height of about 35 feet up to the apex itself. So you can use a tree. You can also use like a fiberglass tent pole as your apex. You want to stay away from anything metallic, but like a fiberglass kite pole, tent pole, things like that, those work really, really well. My recommendation, I used to go and say, okay, if I have a 27-foot pole, I'm going to run my wire all the way, extend it all the way to 27 feet and run my wire all the way through. That's what I used to do. And my pole would bend over, and that would become a break point, and eventually it would just snap. Here's what I've learned. This is my little tip for you guys. If you have, let's say, get the tallest one you can get if you want to have your apex a little higher. Let's say you want to go to 25 feet. Well, you need at least a 27 to 30 foot mast to support a 25-foot height if you're using a fiberglass pole. And basically, once you measure out a lot for your 1 to 2 feet at the bottom of the antenna for your base wire, and then measure out 25 feet from there, 20 feet, whatever it's going to be. And then what I do is I have a pulley. It's a fiberglass marine pulley, so it's not metal. It's not going to corrode, not going to impact your antenna pattern or whatever. It's a marine fiberglass pulley, and I run my wire through that pulley, and then I tape that pulley down with some rope and stuff like that. I tape that down at a point on the antenna where it's a little bit lower than the top and kind of in the meat of the pole itself. And that prevents that bowing that you will see if you have your wire apex all the way up at the top of the pole where it's real thin little fiberglass. So do it a little bit lower, put a pulley. I usually have some rope going through the pulley, and then I wrap that rope and tie that off onto the pole, and then I electrical tape that down, right, or Gorilla Tape or something to really secure that and get a nice tight fit on the pole so it won't slide around. And then I put my wire through that, and that's the apex. And that the one I have right now has been up for almost 2 years, and it works really, really, really well. So those kite poles are great for that. Trees are great for that apex. Just anything you can find that's not metallic. You don't want a metallic pole or whatever to be your support for your antenna, because that's going to mess up your antenna pattern and nulls and all that kind of stuff. So that's a CAS antenna, the basics of the CAS. I know Kaz himself was over here providing some great insight and some additional tips, so definitely check those out. He's the master of these things. He is amazing. It's his design, and I am a huge, huge believer in the Kaz antenna because it works really, really well. We're going to get to the termination part of this here in just a moment. The next one that we have tested out here quite a bit is the Super Loop. And the Super Loop is just a square, basically. And it also, I have on my designs that I've used, I use two wires. The sky wire. The sky wire goes up to a point, across, then back down, and that kind of upside down U is your shape of the Super Loop, the one wire that you have. And then you have a second wire that goes across that base. And that second wire at the base can either be on the ground or slightly under, about an inch or two under the ground. It can be just above the ground, right like a foot or so, or maybe a couple inches off the ground. That's up to you. I have mine slightly buried. It's in my front yard. I have it slightly buried because insurance companies don't like wires just hanging out, and I don't like to have to always be disconnecting the wire to do my lawn mowing and things like that. So I have mine just a little bit buried for the Super Loop, just under the surface, or a little bit, about an inch or two, and that works really, really well. It doesn't have I don't have any problems with it at all. And for that one, again, you can do different things as far as your dimensions on these Super Loops. With these, I find you can get a little bit smaller. If you need a little smaller footprint, you don't maybe have as much room, you can get a little bit smaller on these Super Loops and get away with it. Let me get to our BAM log here. Here we go. I've showed this one a couple times. Let me go to, this is BAM log. I'll put Bruce's link here into the chat. Here you go. And we're going to go to Super Loop. This is the design of the Super Loop. Do-do and do-do. Okay. So you see what I was talking about. So you have one wire that goes up. You have another wire that comes, that wire that goes up and then comes across and then comes back down. That's one wire. And then you have a second wire down here at the bottom that goes from endpoint to endpoint, okay? That is a Super Loop. And on the exact same thing that we just talked about with the CAS, you have a 16-to-1 transformer on one side. You have a termination resistor on the opposite side. Okay, that's why I'm going to save the resistor talk for just a few moments. And you see here, just as with the CAS, wherever you have your feed line, that's going to be where the signals come from. And wherever you have your resistor, that's where the signals are being nulled, hopefully. And as far as dimensions go, there are literally, you can kind of get whatever you really need it to be. I've seen people do like a 10-foot high by 40-foot wide. Is it going to be as good as one that's a little bit bigger? Probably not, but it's going to be pretty good. The shorter and smaller you have them, that's where you might need a little amplification help from an amplifier. But generally speaking, especially if you get something that's about 15 by 60 or so or bigger, those tend to be big enough where you really don't need amplification in most situations. You can use like a passive hand wound transformer. This chart here on the Bruce's log, the one I just put in here for the Super Loop link here in the chat, this is a chart that basically shows you what you can expect for the back end null depth. So this is how many decibels of attenuation of back end null can you expect from different dimensions of your Super Loop, and if you have the resistance dialed in right and everything's the way it should be. Now, there's going to be some variance according to your design, the wire that you use, the different resistance that you have, things like that. But this is a termination resistance between 770 and 1120, plus or minus 10 ohms typically is what he says here. But this gives you the amount of back-end null depth that you can expect on various parts of the band, on the various frequencies within the band, based off of the dimension. So we start off with the horizontal dimension here at the bottom, and that's the distance between the two vertical pieces of that one wire, right? So we have that goes up, goes across, goes down. We're talking horizontal is the part where it goes across. That's the horizontal length and the horizontal dimension that we're talking about here. So you can see as we get shorter, the depth on those is a little bit lower. So a 10-foot across, you can expect it to be a little bit lower. You get to 100 feet, and it actually starts to come back down again. It looks like the sweet spot is typically somewhere in the about the 40 to 80 range, with 60 and 80 really being kind of, or 50 and 80 being really kind of sweet spots here in Bruce's testing. And then it just depends on how you want that to perform on the band as far as how high you want to try to get it. And each of these little bars is a different height, okay? So you can see here the absolute best back end nulls that you can expect on a Super Loop in Bruce's testing is from a 15-foot high by 50-foot long horizontal Super Loop. That's going to give you some of the best null depth here, with 550 kilohertz getting above a 50 dB, 1,000 kilohertz getting about a 55 dB, and 1,500 getting even higher than that. That's how much of a deep null you can expect from one of these antennas when you're looking at like a 15 by 50 Super Loop. These work really, really well. That's why I have one in the front yard. You also have kind of a similar performance here if you're going a little bit bigger with a 20 by 80. With a 20 by 80, now you're showing at about 1,500, you're experiencing around a 40 dB attenuation. On 1,000 kilohertz, you're approaching 50, and then 550, you're way up, right? So again, this kind of depends on, do I want the lower end of the band to have the higher nulls because I have maybe some signals I'm trying to get rid of on the lower end of the band, looking for like Latin Americans or whatever? Do I want it to be more spread out? If you're looking for spread out, that 15 by 50 is really hard to beat. That's really, really hard to beat. So take a look at the data that's there and kind of use that to help you determine, look at your footprint of your yard or your available space and see if you're wanting to put one of these antennas up for AMDX, what amount of room do you have available? What kind of horizontal room do you have available? What kind of tree supports might you be able to use? Or if you need to buy one, where can you put a kite pole as a vertical support for these antennas? Look and kind of map that out, and then measure everything out, and then try it out. They're really, really good antennas. There's also other variations, like I mentioned with the CAS. You also have the DCAS. With the Super Loop, there's also a flag. Usually the difference in most cases between a flag and a Super Loop, they're basically the same design. The difference is usually where this Super Loop, you have your termination here and your transformer in the corners, the bottom corners. Usually in most designs I've seen, the flag is kind of in the middle of this vertical leg over here. So you might have the wire coming down, and then your transformer, and then you have your other wire coming down from here and then going across and then back up to your termination resistor, and then you have the other wire, the second wire, going up here and then across and then down, right? So that typically is what I usually have seen in the flag. It's the same basic design. It's just kind of in the middle. But the super loop, it's down in the corners. I find that's easier to work with, and that's why I really, really like the super loops. You can stack these. You can do in fire. You can do one right after another with a little bit of spacing, usually about 20 or 30 or so feet between one and the other will help you, and you can run those together through like a phaser and get some really good results. You can space them out horizontally as well. So you have one over here and one over here, and you space that out by like 20 feet or so, and that will also give you some good results. And when you do those where you're using more than one, it really narrows down that beam width. So when you're looking towards the north or the south or whatever direction it is, you're able to narrow down that beam width a little bit and really kind of focus in on signals, getting rid of some of those side lobes off to the side, signals off to the side of the antenna. That's what was one of the benefits of doing kind of those in fires or those kind of like parallel versions of those antennas. So let's talk about resistance. So the back end resistance, a lot of questions about this in Slack this week. So the back end resistance is going to vary. It varies sometimes by frequency. It varies sometimes even by time of day. So what you try to do, what I usually try to do with like our big KiwiCaz, the shortwave central one, is I'll try to dial in enough resistance to kind of knock down one particular station that I'm most focused on. And usually when it's like pointing to the south, I'll try to let that be 1510 WLAC. That way I get a really good shot at Radio Monumental down in Ecuador. And that typically gives me pretty good results across most of the band. It's not perfect, but it gets me good results across most of the band. Then I'll set that on my variable resistor and I'll leave it there. And I think that one we have it's either a 2 or a 5,000 ohm resistor, variable resistor that we just kind of dial in. I have my Kiwi pulled up. I'm listening on my phone and I'm listening for where is the deepest null. Where do I have the most attenuation from WLAC? And getting them knocked down a bit. And once I get that deepest point where they're knocked down the most, that's when I've got my deepest null depth, and I kind of let that sit, and I just kind of let it go. Now, that will change over time, so you may have to tweak that every once in a while, but that's generally speaking, if you're using a variable resistor, that's what you would want to do. A lot of folks will use that approach. They'll have a variable resistor, and they'll dial that in, and then they'll use a multimeter to actually measure it out and see what the actual resistance value is for that deepest null, and then try to put a fixed value resistor in at that value to try to help make sure that people are not, that they're not having to kind of constantly change it. It'll just be always that fixed value there, so it's kind of always in place. Then you also have the vactrols. These are available. There are some different DXers out there that make some of these for folks. There are plans out there if you want to try to build your own. And with these, you have a box inside, and with that box inside, you basically are changing the voltage that goes out to a outdoor box. And when you change the voltage on the outdoor box, it changes the resistance of this outdoor box, and that's what changes your termination value. So you can actually do that as you change frequencies, as you have certain stations. Like if I've got WLAC null down, but then I go down to 670 and I want to get rid of WSCR, or I want to get rid of WBBM or WGN, I can dial that in and get that peak null just for that one frequency because it's remote in there in my shack. So some people like to do that, either building one or if you can find a DXer that can make one. Some folks like to do that as well. So my usual recommendation for most folks is the variable resistor because that's easy. You can build it yourself. I've built a couple of my own self, and I am not a good solderer. Not in any way, shape, or form, but I still build them my own self, and they work really, really well. And sometimes it's a bit of a compromise, but you can do really, really well with it. So I have a couple videos on the YouTube channel talking about Kaz antennas and how to build them and how they're designed. We have one talking about termination resistors. I have plans to update all of those as well as we kind of go forward with some of the newer things that I've learned and kind of tweaked as we've gone along. It's on the list. But that's the basic premise for some of these terminated loops. So you have a big loop antenna, either a squashed delta like that or a box like the super loop. And one side has signals coming in, the other side has signals nulled. And if you get rid of those signals, it allows you a better chance of hearing the signals in the direction that you want. You can swap them too. That's one of the cool things about these is, let's say I have that antenna pointing north and south, and I have my feed line on the south and I have my termination on the north. Well, I can unplug those two boxes and swap them around, and now I've got my termination on the south side, I got my feed line on the north, and guess what? I'm getting rid of signals to my south now, and I'm pulling in stuff from the north. You can swap those, and it works really, really well. Definitely check out the videos we have here on our YouTube channel talking about these antennas, and hopefully that will help you and kind of learning more about them. And we have links in all those videos for like Bruce Conti's site, for the DX, the CAS cookbook, and things like that, so you can learn more about these antennas if you are so interested. All right, let's get to some of your shout outs, my friends. Here we go.
Hear the call for every signal, big or small, from AM to FM to C to C. We celebrate the ones who slag the IT. Shout out loud, let it be known, you're never DXing all alone. Through the static we found our way. Shout outs making waves today.
Here we go. Question from the chat. David's Radio Room wants to know how high a Super Loop antenna should be. It varies. It depends on what you have available that you can support. We saw earlier that 15 foot high and 50 foot long was kind of a sweet spot for those antennas. Oops. So if you have that much room available to you to do a 50 foot wide, and you have a way to support a 15 foot high apex, either through a tree or a fiberglass pole or something like that, that works. If you can go a little bit higher, a little bit bigger, try. I had one that was 20 foot by 100 foot, and it worked really, really well. The higher that you have, the more gain you're going to get. That vertical element is your gain, and it's basic. What it basically is, it's two verticals separated out with a ground connection kind of in between them, is what I've been told. So. All right, let's look at our shout-outs. Get yours in at dxchallenges.com/shoutout if you haven't submitted them yet. You still got time to get those in. We're going to start with our friend Stuart, who unfortunately wasn't able to join us tonight. He had work commitments. Understand that. But he is going to catch us on the replay. So, hey, Stuart. It's been a busy week of work, he says. This is Stuart from Michigan, by the way, W8SRC. Haven't had much time for DX. It's been a busy week with work. I understand that. I did manage to hear a few new stations this week. I had one new FM station on Monday morning thanks to some Tropo in Central Ohio. Freedom FM 91.5 WHKC in Columbus at 166 miles. Also, a few new AM Skywave stations during the past couple of nights. 600 WMT in Cedar Rapids, Iowa at 399 miles. CJOB 680 in Winnipeg, Manitoba, 820 miles. And radio 690 KFXN in Minneapolis, 517 miles. Thanks to a tip from Michigan Mike, and another tip from Michigan Mike helped him nab 1520 WZBU with a simulcast of WISS in New Holstein, Wisconsin at 255 miles. You guys have no idea how excited I am for this upcoming FM season, he says. I've already set some personal goals and predictions for the 3 major propagation modes. I'm hoping to share them with you guys in a future shout-out as we get closer to the season. That's what I'm talking about. Preparation. That's how you're going to be successful, most likely to be successful, at least, in the upcoming FM season. So he's got some new stuff in here, including we're going to cut some cheese. We got ourselves some Wisconsin logs. And he got some logs, so we're going to saw some logs for him as well. So you guys are in there in the chat talking about hearing.
California.
Well done, Stuart, my friend. And I'm excited about FM Season 2. Cannot wait. A little bit of preparation left to do. Still got to get my band scan done. Clearly, I didn't do that this week. But we'll be doing that here soon, and I'm going to help us do that. Wink, wink. Friend Stephanie, who also had a prior engagement tonight, so was not able to be here on the show with us live, but did send in a shout out. So I've very much reached the you can't get blood from a stone point of this week's challenge. And then while reviewing my 3.9 recording, this popped up. 690 KRCO in Prineville, Oregon. Weak but clearly there under a semi-local flamethrower XEWW. And that's in Tijuana, with an ABC News sounder, was probably a special report on the war, then back to sports talk and the Dan Patrick Show. Clearly heard Dan's distinctive voice. Welcome a call back to the show. We continue with Gus from LA, was the callback. Confirmed via the station's schedule. Listed at 77 watts at night, 770 miles, new for number 20 from the state of Oregon, from the Hacienda. My friend, well done with the new log there. Of Oregon from the Hacienda in Southern California. Another log there for our friend Stephanie there in SoCal. Well done, well done. Let's see. How many shout-outs do we have so far? We have 7 left to get to. We'll do a couple more here. Have some time. One new logging to report this week for our friend John Johnson out in Arizona. And John says he has KLFE 1590 in Seattle, Washington, with relevant radio programming. The first time I've been able to log them. They are my 15th log from the state of Washington to Arizona. That brings my total in Mesa now up to 929 logs. Man. So the West Coast well represented this evening. Making our East Coast DXer friends here a little jelly. All the West Coast stuff. Well done, John. Next check-ins from our friend Mexico, Mike J. down in Mexico. Mexico, Mike, always good to see you checking in, my friend, and seeing what you're hearing from south of the border. New logs resulting from the frequency challenge. 680 WPTF Raleigh and 690 WQNO New Orleans, plus WMT in Cedar Rapids on 600. So also another Iowa log there for Mexico Mike. All right, so I guess that New Orleans log gets you a bowl of gumbo, my friend. All right, let's see. I'm just curious if our web servers are. Like, I connected to our buddy over in Baton Rouge,
and save you thousands of dollars.
Okay, that's kind of working, but it's still connection lost, connection reconnected, connection lost, connection reconnected. I don't know what's going on. It's very odd. Have not had this happen before. And it's happening on all 3 of our web servers, and all 3 are at different, well, 2 of the 3 are at different locations. So that is an odd duck. Well done, Mexico Mike. Congratulations, and we get you a log in here as well for Raleigh and for Iowa. There you go. Great tip here from our friend Barry and from Kaz. If you are one of the folks looking for Oregon, 1640 KDZR has typically been a good target for folks out east to try for. They're going to be changing their format. Now, right now, they're a regional Mexican format, so it's easier to kind of hear the music and things like that. On April 1st, they are changing to conservative talk, which will make them much harder to hear. So we basically have the rest of the month, y'all, to get Oregon a little bit easier with KDZR than some of the other options that are out there if you're kind of out east. So 1640 KDZR, you might want to spend some time, and I've been doing it since we were doing the state challenge. Didn't do it this week, obviously, but during the state challenge, every night was looking for KDZR. So we'll continue that, looking for them before the end of the month. Hopefully we can get them in the log before they change format, because that will not be fun. Trying to get them the traditional way, I guess. One more, and then we'll save the rest of these here for the next hour, because we have a couple that are still pending here. But let's go ahead and do our friend Mesa Mike. Mesa Mike up in Virginia checks in with the best log this week, owning to 670 HIBS San Pedro de Marcos in Dominican Republic. I said that right. It's the Dominican Republic. There seemed to be only one Rebeldy outlet transmitting instead of the usual wall of them on 670. And that made it possible to use the code channel canceller to get rid of them and get this station. Even so, it was a pretty rough copy. Audio clip contains a call sign ID, but it's rough. So get your earphones out, my friends. Get your earbuds out. And let's take a listen here and see if we can grab this call sign out. This is sometimes what we have to do as DXers. We have to really lean in with the headphones and just kind of sit there and probably repeat it over and over, hitting play until we can get that ID out. So let's take a listen here. There. Now, I did hear a little bit of that ID, and there had the H call letter in there. And it's even hard. I mean, it's harder anyway when you're listening for an ID and it's kind of muffled. It's kind of in the mud, and you're getting rid of another station to get to them, so the audio isn't pristine. And then you throw in the fact that it's another language that you probably are not a native speaker of, although Mesa Mike is very fluent. If you are not a native speaker of the language you're hearing, that makes it even tougher. So, new Latin American station for our friend Mesa Mike. There we go. And, a new log as well. There you go. That is one that you don't see reported very often because of the usual Rebeldy wall. So some of the stuff they've had going on 670 in Cuba and some of the other frequencies as well, that made it possible for him to try to get that one in the log. Well done, my friend. We're going to hit the rest of our shout-outs here in round 2, so you still have time. dxchallenges.com/shoutout. If you haven't gotten your shout-out in yet, let us know what you've been hearing. New logs, new states, new countries, new gear, what have you. You learned a new skill this week. Did you learn how to make an antenna? Did you learn how to make a variable resistor? Termination resistor? Then let us know. dxchallenges.com/shoutout. Coming up in round 2 in our next hour, we've got Walter in Georgia, Nathan in North Carolina, Jacob up in Minnesota, and Sean in Illinois, our voice of all of our sponsors here at DX Central Live. Let's do our announcement here for our medium wave frequency challenge, because this is going to take a second to explain because it's kind of complicated. So we're going to do that. We're going to go ahead and explain exactly what it is we're trying to do here with our new challenge, because it's patrons. What do you think? It's a little extra, right? It's a little extra this week coming up, but it's going to be a fun one, I think. So let's go ahead and hit that announcement and see what's behind door number 1. All right. So that's what we're calling this week. It's the frequency challenge, the medium wave frequency challenge, and this is the frequency challenge. You know that typically we're hiding out in a frequency range like we are this week, 650 to 690, or we are enjoying a little of a theme, right? Like chasing after states or chasing after countries or something that's over 1,000 miles, right? Typically, that's what we're doing. This week, it's a little bit different. This week, our goal is going to be to get something on every frequency, but not just one. That's too easy. Not just 2 in most cases, but 3 logs per frequency. So we're pulling up here our rules here for this challenge. Let me zoom in a little bit to make it a little easier for you guys to read. And these will obviously all be on our challenge page. What you're looking at right now is our exclusive access, early access we gave our patrons this week. They've known about this challenge now for a little bit, so this is what I usually will send to them, is something along this lines that lets them know, hey, we have a frequency challenge, and here's what it's going to be. For this one, anything between 540 and 1600, that is where you're going to be looking to get 3 stations per frequency, okay? And anything between 1620 and 1700, you're looking to get 2 stations per frequency. I lowered that down because not every frequency on that range has like an easy 3, right? Like 1630, 1640, those are hard. 1680. So between 540 and 1600, the regular AM band, you're trying to get 3 stations per frequency. And in between 1620 and 1700, you're trying to get 2. Here's the rub, because there's a little bit of a tweak here. Once you get your 3rd log in that normal range, the 540 to 1600, or the 2nd log on the 1620 to 1700, you get 100 points. Okay, we are doing a scoring system again this week, and it's going to be fun. So you get 100 points once you've reached your quota for the frequency, whichever frequency you've done, depending on which range you're in. Okay, either the 3 or the 2. Once you've reached your quota, you'll get 100 points. Any logs that you submit that are 500 miles or more from your location, you automatically get an extra 10 bonus points. So think about that for a second. Like, I'm here in New Orleans, right? 870 WWL. It's easy for me to just throw WWL on there on 870, and that's one of my 3. And I just need to find 2 more. Well, the incentive here is not to do that. I can do that, but I'm missing out on 10 points. And if all you do is you just log 3 and 2 on every frequency, you're going to max out at a certain number, and you're not going to be able to get above that. So to incentivize folks to give a little extra nudge, we're doing some bonus points. So the 10 bonus points if you get something, if one of your logs for those 3, or every log that you do for those 3, is 500 miles or more. So if I did, let's say I'm doing 3 logs on 870, and I did the station up in Oklahoma, the station down in Ecuador, and the station in Colombia. Well, I get 3 bonuses on each one of those because they were more than 500 miles away. So I get a 10, a 10, and a 10, and I get my 100 that I would get because I got all 3. And to further incentivize a little bit more of a challenge for you, because it's easy if you're just recording the band and going back and reviewing your SDR and just scooping up signals left and right. To make it even more of a challenge, we're kind of combining this with our no SDR challenge. If your log that you submit is done without an SDR, that's also a 10-point bonus. So if you do 500 miles or more and a portable or a desktop radio or non-SDR for all 3 of your logs, that's a 60-point bonus on top of your 100 or whatever, your 100 that you're going to get in there. If you're on the 3, or for the 2s, it's a 40-point plus your 100. Okay? So, again, here's the example. Here in New Orleans where I am, in Mandeville where I am, if I did WWL, but I did it with a portable radio, I get 10 points for that. If I did another station in the portable, I would have gotten 20 for that one. And then the station in Ecuador, that's a 10-pointer because that's over 500. Colombia's over 500, so that's a 10-pointer. If I did those with an SDR, then I just get those 2 10s. But if I did those with a portable or something, non-SDR, I get another 10. So I would have, in this case, if I did a portable radio for WWL, but then Ecuador and Colombia with an SDR, I would have my 100 points for hitting all three on 870. I'd have my 10 points for WWL with the portable radio. I'd have 10 points for Ecuador, 10 points for Colombia because they're over 500 miles. I now have a total of 130 points. Capiche? We're doing this for the rest of March. This challenge will run for the rest of March. Only real radio stations here. No TIS, no HAR this week. No Spurs, no Images, no Harmonics, no Pirates, no Talking Houses, none of those. They need to be an actual broadcast station. I call it licensed, but some of the other countries, that might be a little gray area there. You are encouraged to do portable operations within 25 miles of your location. You need to be using your own gear. I am not going to log into an SDR over in California and start racking up stuff out there and saying that I heard it from Mandeville. Let's be ethical here. And you definitely want to use the challenge website. That's how you'll get credit for all these. So we'll have the challenge launch here in just a few moments. But that's the run of the game. Let's get this sucker started.
DX Central Live top of the hour alert.
Blazer Bobcat says 1610 is missing. That is correct, because there is only one station in North America on that frequency. It's up in Canada, and we're not doing TIS and HAR stations, so I had to keep them out. So I didn't do 530 because there's just Cuba and Canada, and not everyone can hear all three. And I didn't do 1610 because there's one station in Canada, or I think there might be two, but most people hear just the one. So there's not enough really there to make it tangible. So without getting too complicated. So you have your 540 to 1600, you have your 1620 to 1700. That's where your normal broadcast stations are going to be. That's what we're doing this week, and let's go ahead and just start looking for distance. That's what we're looking for, and as a matter of fact, let's take a look at 1640 and see what we got coming in here. See if we can knock out maybe a couple of these stations on 1640. Is that on 670, Chuck?
Because when you look at what sound like signs.
Let's see here. I did hear them. It sounds like that's them.
Hacemos la diferencia. Villanueva, siempre a tu servicio.
Visita el bodegón del asado, donde lo cubano se cocina la plata. Cerdo de carbón, camarón en cazuela, parrillas y postres que cuentan historia.
Oh.
El plato de la familia cubana. Estamos en calle 24, número 418, entre 23 y 25, Vedado, La Habana, Cuba. Nos encuentras en Instagram, @Bodegón del Asado, por Facebook, El Bodegón del Asado, y por los teléfonos 7837-5201 y 5949-5828. El Bodegón del Asado, donde lo criollo y la tradición se encuentran. O tu auspicia el restaurante Los Tres Chinitos. Nos puedes llamar por el 7838-4190 y 7838-4360. O puedes enviar un mensaje de texto por el 5286-2852. Para participar, deja tu nombre y apellidos, deja la vía de contacto y debes decirnos para este sorteo Los Tres Chinitos, lo máximo. Déjanos tu mensaje a través del 7838-4190 y 7838-4360 o por el 5286-2852. Si ganas, tendrás un servicio a domicilio de Los Tres Chinitos.
I'm sure that's Rebeldy, but it just doesn't sound like Rebeldy.
En la FM Rebelde.
That's Rebeldy. Maybe it's their FM. No.
Y llegamos a lo que estabas esperando, la lista de los 40 principales. Y comenzamos nuestro recorrido con Dani Martin.
Excuse
25
me?
en el puesto 40. En el 39, y si lo hacemos, Dani Fernández. En el 38, Bombay presentándonos Llamas. Te lo juro, la propuesta de Fit está en el 37 esta semana en la lista de los 40 principales. Adexe está en el 36 con La Alarma. Soleao en el 35 por Mike Towers. Y en el 34, Marc Anthony y Nati Peluso como en el idilio.
Is Rebellion? That's Rebellion? Running Los 40? That's a Mexican network. We just heard the word ID there out of Miami. 670 and 550. That was them with the ID and there with the word. Hey, Dennis. I'm shocked that's Rebellion. Let's go check out 1180. That's certainly them. There's the echo. It's weird not hearing the wall. Yeah. That's yeah. Are they partnering with Los 40 with XCWA? I wonder if that's what they announced this morning. Because remember they were supposed to have that announcement this morning? I wonder if that was the announcement, was that they were doing a partnership with them or something to pipe in their content. Hola, mamacita. So that's definitely Rebellion. There's the parallel on 1180. There's a 5025 shortwave too. That's Rebellion. Actually, Miami is now no longer doing tropical stuff. They're a religious station. English, religious. 670 The Word is WWFE on 670 now. They are no longer a Spanish station. That was them IDing earlier, the 670, 550. So there's 5025 shortwave Rebellion. There's 670 AM Rebellion. There's a weak 1180 Rebellion. My goodness, they are down there. Interessante. Yeah, here's the website for 670 out of Miami, The Word. This is their live stream.
Pull up a chair on Lisa Harper's back porch where Faith...
Well, they're English, religious. They're even carrying it on shortwave.
En la lista de los 40 principales, presentamos en música viva el número 33, Sapphire por Ed Sheeran. En el 32, Luciérnagas es la propuesta de Enol. Damiano aparece en el 31 con Talk to Me. En el 30, Nadie más te la cree por Beret. Y en el 29, exitazo de David Guetta, Forever Young.
That's such a it's messing with my head that I'm listening to Cuba doing the XEWA jingle there. That's crazy. That's gonna have some people scratching their heads. Well, you heard it first. There you go. Well, I don't know if it was first, but we're among the first probably to put that out there, that they're now apparently relaying Los 40 XEWA out of Mexico on Radio Rebellion. At least right now they are. I don't know if that's permanent or what that's supposed to look like, but they are right now. So that's super interesting. Let's take a quick break. It's never a dull moment. When we come back, we're going to talk a bit about a little technique that I've picked up for helping you get notices and alerts whenever E's happen, not by email, but a text message. Yeah, we'll talk more about that right after this.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. DX Central Live is brought to you in part by
The International Radio Club of America gives DXers incredible value by putting important station information right at your fingertips. The club's e-publication, the DX Monitor, includes DXer loggings, station information updates, international loggings, and more. Other club publications include the IRCA Mexican Log, a must-have resource for any DXer that chases stations from Mexico, the TIS-HAR list, the IRCA slogan list, sunset sunrise maps, and DXer technical guides. The joint IRCA-NRC email reflector and groups.io group is a hub for real-time DX conditions, station news, and DX-related conversation. For more information, visit ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org. From long wave to satellites, medium wave through HF, ham radio to scanners. If you can DX it, the Spectrum Monitor has you covered. Editor and publisher Ken Reitz has assembled a who's who of radio writers to share their knowledge and expertise from a wide range of DX-related topics. Each month, the Spectrum Monitor's columnists dive into their specialties to give readers tips, tricks, the latest news and station updates, and more. The Spectrum Monitor also provides a monthly assortment of feature articles that give in-depth insight into the past, present, and future of DXing. You can get a full year of the Spectrum Monitor for only $24. Individual issues from the current year are available for $3 each. You can also purchase previous years of the Spectrum Monitor in their entirety for as low as $12. For more information, visit thespectrummonitor.com. That's thespectrummonitor.com. For more than 90 years, the National Radio Club has been at the forefront of providing DXers with the latest in station news, DX-related technical information, and reception reports from DXers around the world. The NRC's AM radio log is the most expansive and detailed resource of station information for U.S. and Canadian radio stations that is available in any format. The club's publication, the DX News, is available in both print and electronic format and provides the latest information on call letter and format changes, construction permits, and other information to help keep DXers informed of the latest updates they may hear on the air. For more information, visit their website at nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org.
Can't get enough DX? Then the DX Central from the Static podcast is for you. Take DX Central on the go and listen to episodes from DX Central Live, interviews with prominent members of the DX community, tips, tricks, how-tos, your DX memories and stories. And that's just the start. You can find the From the Static podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Listen Notes, or anywhere you get podcasts, or by visiting FromTheStatic.net. That's FromTheStatic.net. For stories, signals, and voices from across the airwaves, don't miss the DX Central From the Static podcast.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central. From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana. Studio A is where you find us Friday nights at 23:45 UTC now that we're here in Daylight Savings Time. And that's where you'll find Live DX and a whole lot more. Trying to see if I can get this web server situation resolved. Trying to disable some plugins. That's not helping. I don't know. We're gonna have to figure that out. I don't think the Wobbler's a jammer. I mean, they'd be jamming their own signal. And it pops up every once in a while on different frequencies. It's not consistent. If it was a jammer, it'd be more consistent. Somebody said a couple years ago, I don't know how accurate it is, but somebody said it had something to do with the antenna vibrating in the wind or something. I don't know. I don't know if that's accurate or not. Anyway, I should clarify. Earlier I said that Rebellion was relaying Los 40 out of Mexico. They're not relaying XCWA. They're playing content that's a little different from Rebellity's usual, but they're using imaging that sounds like the Los 40 XCWA stuff instead of the usual Rebellion. I don't know. I haven't had a chance to do any Google searches yet to see if there's like a partnership or something that they're doing. Like I said, I know they're having some issues down there on the island with the power and things like that. So I don't know if maybe there's like a agreement that they're doing to help them pipe in some kind of I don't know. We just stumbled across this, so we'll see if we can't dig in and figure it out and get let you guys know what we find, because that's definitely intriguing. One more time. Let's try this. Is that it? And it? No, I didn't do it. Anyway, we'll keep trying on the web servers. Let's get to your shout-outs. dxchallenges.com/shoutout. If you've got something you want to submit, send it in, and we'll read it out here, and we'll celebrate your success together. Here we go.
Hear the call for every signal, big or small, from AM to FM.
We bring you your shout-outs. Hey, do I hear a little grumble from the FM web server there? Maybe. It's alive. Sort of. It's getting there. Your shout-outs. Again, dxchallenges.com/shoutout. If you have something you want to let us know, what you've been hearing, send it on over, and we'll celebrate together. Let's just try the old Shortwave Central one. Nah. I don't know, man. I've had these now up and running for a while, and I've never had this pop up before. And I just checked our internet connection. All the internet stuff is running as it should, so no problems with the internet connections. Nothing there that should cause any problems. I don't know. Let's read these out here real quick. We'll start with our friend Walter in Georgia. Walter says he's got a couple here. 980 WYFN Nashville, Tennessee at 350 miles. WGAD 930 Rainbow City, Alabama, 198 miles. WYFQ in Charlotte, 316 miles for 930 kilohertz. 980 WKLY in Hartwell, Georgia at 203 miles. 730 WSTT in Thomasville, Georgia at 166 miles. 1390 WYXI in Athens, Tennessee, that was 267 miles, and WSPO in Charleston, 1390 at 258 miles. A lot of names in there I recognize. A lot of those stations we used to hear when I was in Brasstown and Greenville. That's a whole bunch of new logs for our good friend Walter there in Georgia. Congratulations, Walter. Trying to close out some of these programs that pop up here. See if this might work. Let's go back to the OG, and we'll hit play, and nothing. There's nothing that should be causing this. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe I have to. Well, no. I need to check the web servers themselves. Maybe I have to restart the actual machine. Yeah, that's a possibility. I might have to restart the actual TEF itself. That's probably what it is. Because we did have storms and stuff this week. Next shout out we have is for our friend Nathan up in North Carolina. Nathan has a shout out in here. Two things. He's got a new station, giving him a new country, and some new gear. So let's celebrate that with him here. So Nathan got ZFM 740 Zoomer Radio up in Canada. That's his third country now here, including the U.S. So we have a new country passport stamp for him. Also got a new laptop for DX. And getting that up and running so he can use that for more SDR work. Love hearing that. So first we'll start off with the gear. We'll celebrate that new gear, new laptop. Always a great moment when you're able to add some new gear into the shack. And the new country as well. So we get to stamp a passport for our friend Nathan. I'll find that empty spot there. There we go. Let's put that stamp right. Boom! There you go. That's Canada. Done. Well done, my friend. So two new things, a new log and a new piece of gear for our friend Nathan up in North Carolina. Next up on our shout out list, we got Jacob in Minnesota. Jacob writes in saying a few new logs this week. 7:30 KYYA in Billings, thanks to local 740 WDGY having their clock set 45 minutes too late. They have a pre and post sunset authorization, and for whatever reason, they run HD IBOC in band on channel only during their pre and post sunset authorization times. With them staying on day power late, that means HD stays off late. It also logged 680 WHBE in Newburgh, Kentucky, 1050 KSPO in Dishman, Washington. KSPO was heard very weak minutes before they dropped power at sunset, matched to the KiwiSDR closest to Spokane, and did attach an air check of WHBE there on 680 out of Kentucky. So let's give a listen to that one.
Final deadline in the St. Mega Millions Showsters Lottery.
Stand by boxes to choose from, including 5 home packages, all including cars and
$1.25 million cash.
There you go. Underneath the main one there, you heard WHB. Let's see what was it.
Final deadline in the St. Mega Millions Toasters Lottery.
There it was. There was the call letters, WHB. Hear it?
Final deadline in the St. Mega Millions Toasters Lottery.
There it was. Underneath that one, I've talked about this before, how sometimes if you have a station that's dominant on the frequency, they kind of clear out a path and allow stations to come up underneath them and be heard. And that's exactly what Jacob was able to do there. So well done, my friend. We get a couple of new ones in here for you. So we saw the log. Montana, Washington, and Kentucky. That's a pretty nice haul, man. Pretty nice. So well done, my friend. Sean Kutsko, you're up next. Our friend Sean from Illinois. Despite some ongoing issues with his bog antennas, his beverage on ground antennas, he started a decent week for the challenge. 20 unique stations total with 2 new logs. KGAB 650 in Orchard Valley, Wyoming. And WDYZ 660 in Altamont Springs, Florida. I'll take that as a victory. Some pretty loud stations on those frequencies, and hearing anything but them is a success. Hope to get my bog woes figured out soon. I think I heard that Notorious B.O.G. himself, the bog doctor, is on the case, and he's helping out Sean get that resolved so he can resume his butt kicking that he's been doing on the AM band here with those bogs. Well done, my friend. So we've got you with some new logs. Well done, man. Well done. And our last shout out here, Dennis, our friend Dennis in Virginia, checks in. I don't know if the Dominican Republic is considered Latin, but I do have 2, and yes, they are. 670 to HIBS, San Pedro, again, Dominican Republic, 1,448 miles. And HIAT on 650, Radio Universal, Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. Also add in WKAZ, Charleston, West Virginia on 680. So a couple new Latin American logs and a new log saw for our friend Dennis up in Virginia. So we'll start off with the Latin American stuff. Where is Jeff? He usually at least comes in and shouts everyone's name. It says, hey. And we have some log saws here for you as well. So saw that log for the new ones in the logbook. There you go, Dennis. Well done, my friend. I only have one new one this week. It just came in right before the show started. When I found out we had Tropo here, I looked over on 98.3 where we have a pretty high-powered HD IBOC signal from WYLD on 98.5. We were actually getting Lale, KMZZ in Bishop, Texas on 98.3. That was a new one. So that was FM number 1646 from here in Mandeville since 2023. And another new Tropo catch for us. So that one we did get. But while I didn't have a lot of time for DX in the shack this week, we did have some time for some DX elsewhere. And that brings us to our next little ditty that we have here. It came from the Slack.
It came from the Slack. It came from the Slack. It came from the Slack. That's where you'll find it, y'all. It came from the Slack. The X is sharing tips now. It came from the Slack, and they're audio clips, yeah. It came from the Slack. What they talking about, Lloyd?
Well, it was an eventful week for a lot of folks. Mentioned earlier, you guys were in there talking about antennas and the like, but for me this week, I had one shot at it. One shot at DX, and it came on my flight to Dallas. That was on Tuesday. I wasn't able to do the flight back Wednesday because the storms were pretty bad, and I was exhausted. It was a long week, long couple days on the business trip, and I was more just focused on just get home because tornadoes were dancing around and all kinds of other stuff. When I got a really cool shot of that, actually, a really cool picture of the tornado storms from 35,000 feet. I'll see if I can dig that up. But the main thing I did on Tuesday was just kind of tuning around. We were about central Louisiana-ish, around Alexandria, somewhere in there. And up until that point, I'd heard a lot of like Louisiana, like New Orleans, south of Louisiana, typical stuff I usually hear here. But once I got to around Alexandria, above Alexandria, that's when some of the signals started getting a little bit further out. So we're going to pull up our FM list here, and we're also going to pull up our stuff here in the Slack. And we're going to talk about some of the catches that we had. So let's start off here, 88.7. KRVS was a catch that we had here on 88.7. 3F18. And that is for KRVS there in Lafayette. So 88.7 is a station, is a frequency here in New Orleans. I have a hard time hearing anything because we have a local. So getting KRVS here, I've heard them a couple times here when we have like really good tropo. But that was one that was kind of a nice welcome addition to see coming in. 92.9 KHLA, the Lake, and 239A was our code there. And, oops, I didn't change my frequency, 92.9. That is out of Jennings, Louisiana. It's about 176 miles from here in the New Orleans area, the Lake is. That would have been a relog, but good to see them in there as well. We usually have a sports station on New Orleans on 92.9. And this shot gives you an idea, like I said, we're kind of where we were here when I was doing some of these. So those first two you saw, I was kind of about in here-ish. So it definitely makes sense. I'd be seeing stuff down in this area, down Lafayette, down that way. But once we got to right about here, well, that's when things really started getting fun. So we got to 104.5, and that's when we got one BB8, and that was KKMY in Orange, Texas. Now, this is one of the first ones. When we get a tropo opening over towards the west, southwest out of Texas, this is one of the very first stations that pops up. It's KROI on 92.1 Seabrook, and it's this one, KKMY, out of Orange, right there in kind of the southeast Houston, Galveston area. So that was one that, again, I heard from right about in here. So I was up here, hearing down here into southeast Texas, down around the coastline is where Orange is, right around Houston. So that was kind of nice to have that coming in. That wasn't tropo. That was just because I was up at 35,000 feet. Then we did a couple more here. 104.7. We had 32C6, which was... should be KNEK. That's out of Washington, Louisiana, 121 miles. So again, kind of here in the Louisiana area. But this was the one I was kind of most excited about. This is on 107.7. We had 3712. This is KLAL Alice 107.7 out of Wrightsville, Arkansas. They were actually talking about Little Rock and stuff like that. So this is an Arkansas station. Again, where I was right about here. So I was hearing up into Arkansas from the middle of Louisiana and down in here into southeast Texas. Now, right after, and this is what inspired the DX Files skit that we had this evening. Right after I snagged this one, I got a little carried away with my DX. I extended the telescopic whip fully. This guy, right? So I had been DXing with it kind of like this, and then I decided to do the full extension here and had that kind of up against the wall of the airplane from my seat. And that's when the flight attendant came over and said, "You gotta put that away, buddy." And I was like, okay. So I did. I didn't put up a fight. I know that's, shouldn't be doing that. Not without talking to him first, I guess, but I did put it away because I was instructed, and there you go. So Arkansas from central Louisiana was kind of the highlight, and I would have loved to have seen what else we could have gotten, but like I said, had to put the radio away. So that was the extent of the DX I got to do this week. We had no time for a DX the rest of the week. Yeah, Rick, exactly. I kind of was like, well, come on, man. I'll shorten the antenna. I'll put it back down and collapse it again. How about that? Let's just do that. But they have a job to do, and I respect that. That's fine. I should have asked first. So that's the extent of the DX I got to do this week, other than what we just got. So no AMDX this week, since we launched the challenge earlier last week, and then the little bit of FM this evening, the FM that we did there on the plane. So there you go. All right. I didn't want to be the subject of a viral video. Maybe I was and didn't even realize it. Maybe there's one on TikTok out there, this crazy guy on an airplane with a whip antenna extended up to the ceiling there. That would have been fun. I think I know why this is doing this. Hold on. Let me see if this is... All right. I think this reset that I just did. Let me make sure I got this speaker. There we go. Okay, now let's reset the FMDX web server. It's still not doing it. It's kind of there. Maybe? I've never had this problem before with them. This is crazy. Anywho, all right. Said could unscrew a bolt on the seat mount and connect it. As much as I would love to do that and really try to have some fun DXing that way, I don't want to use tools on the airplane, and definitely land myself on like a no-fly list. That would not be fun. Not at all. Let's do some more DX. We have launched our frequency challenge. It is up and running. You can now go check it out, dxchallenges.com. Make sure you're registered. That way you can chime in and submit your logs to the frequency challenge. Again, as a reminder, our goal here is 3 stations on each frequency, between 540 and 1600, and 2 stations per frequency between 1620 and 1700. There are incentives to log stations that are 500 miles or more away from you, and there are incentives to not use an SDR. Those are bonus points you would also get for your logs for those. So definitely go check it out. dxchallenges.com, and then click on the little link that says, here's our current challenge. It'll take you right to it. Before we dive into some DX, really quick, I did want to talk about text message alerts for FM list e-alerts. So this is something, actually, a couple weeks ago, I was talking about FM list and the e-alert, and here on the live stream. And I was looking, kind of glanced over, and I saw a comment someone had made about they like the e-alerts, but they wish there was a text message option. And that got me to thinking after the stream was over. I was like, that actually, I would like to do that. I said, I bet there's a way that you can have an email be sent via text, like a forward to do it via text, like a service somewhere or something like that. So I searched it, and sure enough, your cell phone number has an email address tied to it. So you would take your 10-digit number, your area code plus your 7-digit number, and then there's a domain depending on what carrier you use. And for Verizon, for instance, it's vtext.com. So you would have your phone number at vtext.com, because I use Verizon. And then anytime you would have a rule set up in whatever email program you use, Gmail, Outlook, whatever, so that whenever an email comes in from a particular sender, in this case it's the alerts at fmlist.org, whenever they send you an alert and it comes into that your normal email address, you can set up a rule so it will automatically then forward to whatever email address you choose. In this case, you would use your cell provider's email address for your phone number. So I tested it out. Now, I found that when you do that, you have to, there's a confirmation process you have to go through. You have to click on a link to say, yes, I want to have this stuff forwarded to my text message, to my cell phone number. At least I did with Verizon. I don't know if all carriers do this. I would assume probably. So you would basically say, yes, I click on this link here, and then I want that to now, from now on, I want to be able to have this forward take place. Or it might have been the Gmail thing. I think it's because I'm using Gmail. I think that's why they did that. Because it sends an email that says, we're now forwarding to this address. Is that okay? Click this link to confirm, basically. So it's not a carrier thing. It's a Gmail thing. So you're depending on what email provider you're using, it might be a little bit different. But if you do run into that, then what I found out was that vtext.com domain that I was using for Verizon is for SMS texts. And SMSs have a carrier or a character limit. So it's like a tight character. I think it's 140 or 160 characters, somewhere in there. But you can also do an MMS, which is like a multimedia message. And those don't have a character limit. And they have a different email address domain. So in my case, for Verizon, it was at vzwpics.com. Same, my telephone number, my 10-digit number at vzwpics.com. And then once I did that, I reset up the forward. It came right through. Now I can see the entire message. I could click the confirmation link. It set everything up. And now I get, whenever there's an e-alert, it sends me a text message to notify me. And I can then, on my phone, I actually set up a single unique sound that I don't use anywhere else for any other kind of alerts. I only use it for when a text message comes in from that notification that comes in from that email that is now being sent to my text. So if you are like me, I was saying I would be getting emails to my Gmail, but I wouldn't know because I wouldn't get like an alert, because I have most of my notifications turned off as much as I can, because the ones I have to have on are constantly going off. So it's kind of annoying. So I only turn on what I absolutely have to have. So usually that's, especially during FM season, it's the Slack channel, because I want to see what's coming in case like Boot Crew North or one of the guys up in Arkansas are seeing something. Or I wanted to have an alert for these my email alerts coming through Gmail from FM List. Well, it wasn't working super great last year. It was working, but it wasn't working the way I wanted it to. This does. This gets me what I'm looking for, a unique sound on my phone that whenever that text message comes in, it makes that unique sound that I don't use for any other notifications and says, hey, pay attention. There's ease potentially going on for you. So if you have any kind of propagation alerts that are being sent by email from like DXMaps, fmlist.org, things like that, or if you, let's say you have like an email reflector and you want a particular subject line or something that contains a certain word, whatever kind of rule setup options you have with your email provider, like Gmail or whoever it is, you can set that email forward to go to your phone number at, and then whatever the MMS number, email address domain is for your provider, your carrier, and then you can get those alerts that way via text. Because we typically have our phone with us most of the time, and especially even if it's like sitting over on a table off to your side and you're not like with you, if you hear that one alert that you set up, this like the super loud ring, like old phone ringing or something like that, and make it something you're going to notice, and that might help you with some of those alerts and getting those a little bit quicker. So my tip to you, again, when I originally did the Google searching on this one, it came back with all the domains for all the different carriers, and it was giving me the SMS domain. So when you Google search what yours is, say you want the MMS email domain for your carrier for your phone number. So it'll be like, again, your area code and 7-digit number at whatever their MMS domain is, and then you can forward to that email address, and then you're good. So my little tip for you for this upcoming FM season. We'll probably do a video about that or something later on as we get into that preparing for the FM season stuff that we do. All right. Let's see. Let us do some DX. We are now into our frequency challenge. It's the frequency challenge. We're looking for stations on each frequency and seeing if we can get up to 3 on the main portion, 2 for the expanded band. So let's go back to 670 and see what shenanigans are going on here. So we've got an English-speaking station up top. That's probably Chicago. We have another English-speaking station underneath. That's religious. That's Miami. And then we have Cuba. So Rick wants to know if we are going to do the no SDR challenge. I'm kind of combining that one into this one. So that's why there are the bonus points. If you your receptions you log are not using an SDR, you're incentivized for that. So my suggestion to folks is to do it without an SDR and try to log stations that are more than 500 miles away from you for all of your logs. If you do that, you're going to get the most points, right? So ideally, that's what you would want to do. I was going to do the no SDR challenge the first week or two of April, but then I looked at the calendar and I realized just how little time we had left. And our season for the challenges will wrap up. The last challenge is going to end on the 24th of April. And then on May 1st, our last season finale show for this show will take place. And we're going to do kind of a recap of the season, right? But I need to have the challenge in so I can calculate and do all the stuff for the recap. So the challenge part will end on the 24th of April. Well, in order for me to do that and do some of the other stuff I want to do in April, I couldn't fit it in this year. So we're combining that this week for the rest, of March rather. So there you go. So yeah, this week, if you want, again, you don't have to, but you're incentivized to not use an SDR by having extra bonus points because it takes more skill and more time to get 3 on every frequency not using an SDR than it does an SDR. You can knock that out pretty quick because you can do it faster. So you can get more points, to your 3s that way easier than you can with a portable or a one at a time radio. So if you're doing it that way, you're incentivized with that by extra bonus points that the SDR folks aren't going to get. They're going to have the numbers, but they're not going to have the extra points. So kind of like we do with the Summer DX Challenge with the portable bonus, right? That's what we're doing here with that. And also you have the mileage bonus. So you're trying to get further away than just your local stations and stuff like that. So that's what's going on this week. So go check it out, dxchallenges.com, and check out the rules for this week's contest. Yeah, any portable works. Your car radio works. Any kind of radio that's not an SDR, there's an option there for you to use that, and you'll get bonus points for that. How many points for a vacuum tube? We should do, I do have a Drake SPR4 somewhere. Dennis wants to know, do they all have to be non-SDR if we want the extra points? No, every log you submit that's a non-SDR log gets the 10 points, right? So I used the example earlier. If I'm on 870, and let's say I log WWL with a portable, and then I log Colombia and Ecuador on my SDR, Colombia and Ecuador get a bonus because they're over 500 miles. WWL gets a bonus because I did it on a non-SDR, right? I would normally the WWL wouldn't count for any points unless it was the third station I logged because it's too close. It would be a 0-point entry. So you don't have to do it on all of your logs, but I recommend that you do because you're going to get more points that way. It's better for you to do that. It's better for you to not log your locals or your nearby stations than it is to log the easy ones just to get the, a couple of stations on the frequency. It's better for you to try to get further stuff and to use non-SDRs because you're going to get more points. If you're chasing points. If you're not chasing points, then it doesn't matter, right? If you're not trying to be the top scorer or chase points and get as many points as you can, just challenge yourself to try to log 3 stations on each frequency on the 540 to 1600, 2 stations 1620 to 1700. Give yourself a challenge to see if you can do it in 3 weeks. That could be the challenge. Whichever way you want to do it, that's the approach. All right? I'm giving you guys options. How about that?
visit him on or call 800-537-9700. That's 800-507-7.
All right, let's go back up top to 16. I just want to see. I'm on the wrong SDR here. Just want to see on 1640 if we have any shot here of Oregon.
Children come to me. Each piece will help you meditate. If we damage it, I mean, this is devastating. Making over $30 million for this year and next year.
That's right, Robert. Yeah. If you're chasing points, the way to do that is no SDR and stations that are further away. If you're not chasing points, you don't have to do that. So here on 1640, we're looking for Oregon. We've got Oklahoma, and we've got Wisconsin. Those are the two stations I usually hear. And that's why we're not doing 3 stations on the expanded band, because on some frequencies like this one, it's a little harder to do that. Because there's really, for most folks, 2 stations.
Sorry, him to come in and say, sorry, JJ, we're done with you.
You're listening to Jason Smith with Mike Harvey. Weeknights at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio.
David's radio room wants to know what kind of feed line would be good for a super loop antenna. I use RG8X for mine, 50 ohm RG8X, because I'm doing 50 ohm at my radio. If you want to do 75 ohm, you can use like RG6 Quad Shield. It's pretty good. You can get nice long runs that are shielded and low loss. If you have the means, Cat6 cable with the twisted pairs, those work really, really well. I know Jeff Immel, Notorious B.O.G., I know he swears by those. As do others. And the good thing about the twisted pair is that with those you don't have much the risk of common mode noise, because there's no third conductor there to pick up that common mode noise, which requires a common mode choke. So that's one of the benefits of twisted pair or Cat6, is that you're just doing straight copper, 2 conductor copper, and that's it.
What you've had about that is the cable, the also most important, or at least the tabernacle users, even mentioned users.
Well, I haven't heard it myself, and just kind of reading between the lines here of what you might have in mind. Let's say that you look at time for last call.
I have no idea what's going on with these web servers tonight. Can you bury Cat6 if you get a direct bury cable? Yes, you can. And I even have I have direct bury RG8X. My RG8X that I use as my feed line, that is direct bury. So if you get direct bury Quad Shield, RG8X, Cat6, twisted, whatever you get, if you get direct burial version of it, you can put it just below the surface and bury that feed line to make it easier, so you don't have to work around it for your lawnmower and stuff.
Maybe to get people to think or something like that. You can't really accurately say that the altar is the most important thing inside the church, because what about Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament? in the tabernacle. This
So I'm going to start at the top of the band here.
altar of sacrifice, is that somehow more
And we're going to work our way down.
what it represents and what happens
This is
there?
a good approach, is to start on one end and work your way the other way. So start on the bottom and work your way up, top and work your way down. Or you can also go through and knock out the easy ones, knock out the clear channel stations first, the big 50 kilowatt flamethrowers, knock those guys out first, and then go back in and do your regionals, and then go back in and do your local graveyarders. That's one way of attacking this behemoth of trying to get so many stations per frequency. So there you go. The log count for this week is going to be crazy. I can't wait to see how many logs you guys submit for this one. We're doing 3 weeks, 2 and 3 stations per frequency per DXer. The log counts are going to be crazy. We should cross 40,000 logs for this season, or from all of the seasons with this week. This should get us over the 40,000 log barrier that we've been kind of getting really, really close to. So here we go. Let's start off at 1,700 and work our way down. All right, so our first station that we have here, I'm assuming this is WEUP on out of Alabama here. You know what's crazy? Let's go back to my shortwave or my DX Central Kiwi. There you go. There's our Causeway TIS station, WNKG 901. That one I cannot count. No TIS, no HARS.
Will make the situation less.
I think I just noticed something. That was that WRCR?
This place is out of the roadway. 4. If your vehicle cannot make it, stop in the right lane as close as you can to the curb.
Was that Brownsville?
Have all passengers exit and stand on the curb to the rear of the vehicle. This puts you out of the crash zone if your vehicle is rear-ended. 6.
There's a talk station in there underneath, and I can't tell if it's sports talk or if it's like WRCR talk.
4. 504 835 3116. 7. While on the curb behind your vehicle, wave approaching traffic to the left lane. 8.
Huh.
Expect emergency personnel to arrive in under 5 minutes. 9. Follow instructions by emergency personnel. Their goal is to keep you safe. Please remember, always be alert, be safe, and be courteous.
While driving on the causeway, if you observe anyone driving in an unsafe manner, you can report this to Causeway Police by calling area code 504-835-3116 or call
I love the Mexican fenders. The Fender Mexican Strats, the Mexitele. I love those guitars. I would rather have those than the American, to be honest with you, because let me talk on this for a second.
Stay calm. This allows you to think more
With
clearly.
the Mexican Strat, I can buy a really solid performing Strat, slap whatever pickups I want to in that thing, and save a ton of money. Like, I can put some EMG noiseless pickups in there. You get that David Gilmour sound. And I'm saving a ton of money from having to go buy an American Strat. And honestly, the pickups are the only thing that makes the difference on those things in my ears. And let's be now 30 years of playing. The pickups are what makes the difference on those. I've played a lot of Mexican Strats, and I loved every one of them. Every one of them. Big fan. Also a big fan of Epiphones, the Les Pauls, instead of buying the Gibson outright. I have an Epiphone Les Paul, an Epiphone Sheridan, or it's Riviera, Epiphone Riviera. And with the Les Paul, I swapped out the pickups on that one. And I put like a little 59, I put a 59 in there and something else in the neck. So I've got some screaming, scorching pickups in that sucker. And I dare you to tell me the difference between that and the Gibson. Honestly. And saved me a ton of money. I want to know who this talk station is underneath my TIS station, because if it's New York, that's a new one for me.
Make the situation less frightening. 1. Stay calm. This allows you to think more clearly. 2. Activate your hazard lights to alert others that your vehicle is in trouble. 3. Drive to the nearest crossover or shoulder, even with a flat tire. The safest place is
I even like the Squires. The Squire Strats? For the same reason.
stop in the right lane as close as you can.
As long as the neck is straight, slap some new pickups in that bad boy. You got a screaming guitar.
Exit and stand on the curb to the rear of the vehicle. This puts you out of the crash zone.
I put some Texas Special pickups in the Squire Strat.
6. Contact the Causeway Police by calling star CP. That's 27 on the number pad. Or
DX Central Live top of the hour alert.
116. 7. While on the curb behind your vehicle, wave approaching traffic to the left lane. 8. Causeway Police and motorist assist units.
Actually, I have two Squire Strats. I did that. One that has Texas Specials for that kind of Stevie Ray Texas blues sound. The other one I put some Fat 50s, custom shop Fat 50s. Oh, sounds so good. Love that guitar. That was my main stage rig for a long time, was that guitar. I'm waiting for the ID here.
Emergencies on the Causeway Bridge can be chaotic.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, Barry. I'm hoping that's who this is.
1. Stay calm. This allows you to think clearly. 2. Activate your hazard lights to alert others that your vehicle is in trouble. 3. Drive to the nearest crossover.
They're doing a Big Lou commercial right now.
The safest
Maybe
place
that's Brownsville, but I'd like it to be New York.
4. Vehicle cannot make it. Stop in the right lane as close as you can to the curb. 5. Have all passengers exit and stand on the curb to the rear of the vehicle. This puts you out of the crash zone if your vehicle is rear-ended. 6.
And I'm only hearing them on my vertical.
Star CP. That's 27 on the number pad. 504-835-3116. 7. While on the curb behind your vehicle, wave approaching traffic to the left lane.
Yeah, that Northeast cat is going to get too much of Alabama.
9. Follow instructions by emergency personnel. The goal is to keep you safe. Please remember, always be alert, be safe, and be courteous.
Driving on the causeway, if you observe anyone driving in an unsafe manner, report to Causeway Police by calling 504-835-36 or call star 27. This is a free call.
Emergencies on the Causeway Bridge can be chaotic. Knowing what to do will make the situation less frightening.
I don't think it's Brownsville. I would have heard a Fox Sports sounder.
This allows you to think more clearly. 2. Activate your hazard lights to alert others that your vehicle is in trouble. 3. Drive to the nearest crossover or shoulder, even with a flat tire. The safest of the roadway.
So I heard the Worship 94.5 ID.
Cannot make it. Stop in the right lane as close as you can to the curb. 5. Have all passengers exit and stand on the curb to the rear of the vehicle. This puts you out of the crash zone if your vehicle is rear-ended. 6. Contact the Causeway Police by calling star CP. That's 27 on the number pad. Or 504-835-3116.
That might be Brownsville then, I think.
7.
I might be hearing
While on
that.
the curb behind your vehicle, wave approaching traffic to the left lane. 8. Causeway Police and motorist assist units are en route. Expect emergency personnel to arrive in under 5 minutes. 9. Follow instructions by emergency personnel. Their goal is
That sounds
to
like
keep
Fox
safe.
Sports.
Please remember, always be alert, be safe, and be courteous.
Yeah. That's Fox. Okay, that's Brownsville.
While driving
Dang.
on the causeway, if you observe anyone driving in an unsafe manner.
All right, 1690. We got WEUP. We got Brownsville there. Got somebody way off frequency. $16.90.067. This is that one I was chasing a couple weeks ago. I couldn't figure out who it was. You can log more than your allotment. If you get more, you can log more than your allotment, your quota. But you don't get the bonus. You don't get extra bonus points for that. You just get log bonuses if you're doing it for over 500 miles or over, non-SDR. But you don't get any extra bonus points for that. I mean, the 100 points. You don't get, like, if you get 6 stations, you don't get 200 points. It's just the 100 for the quota. That's what I'm trying to say. Who is this off frequency? Because they are loud. $16.90.070 ish. Or 066 ish. There are no stations that I know of down in Mexico, although it sounds like a Spanish station. I'm going to bump that down to 065. I wonder if it's a pirate. Yeah, I was, Mike. I didn't know if there was like a Mexican pirate that's being heard down there. They were loud on the Brownsville Kiwi when I was checking, but not many other Kiwi. I mean, like, it was all centered around our area, right, and around this little southwest Gulf area. Brownsville had them. Some of the Mexican Kiwis didn't have them. I had them. The guy over here by Lafayette had them, or Lake Charles or wherever he is over here to the west. His Kiwis had them. So there was a couple of us that were getting them. I think maybe one in Austin had it, but not a lot. So I'll keep playing with that one. 1680. I know who that one is. Still chasing TTM on this one out of New Jersey. And I'm pretty sure that ball game is Monroe, probably. $16.70. I'm not going to go through all the frequencies. We'll do the expanded band as a starting point. $16.70.03. Take care, David. I think that's Reynosa, the 03. Which I haven't logged yet. Huh. And I'm pretty sure that's more than 500 miles, so I could use that as one of mine. All right, if I can get that one. Mike, yeah, usually. Every once in a while, Monroe will take the top spot, or they'll be kind of equal, but usually it's Marco Island. Florida here is ridiculous. I swear, I have a pipeline to Florida. 1660.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Atkinson's ready. The 2-2 pitch swung on and a bounding ball to the third baseman. Dotson's got it on the in-between hop, shoots it across the diamond in plenty of time, and the pinch hitter Maggie is retired 5-3 for the second out of the 7th inning.
That was smooth fielding there by Cade Dodson. Those balls can take funny hops coming the other way, and he just, that's a play he should make, but he made it easily. We like to see
it's
that.
either Waco or it's Kansas City, one of the two. They're on top. With a possibly relevant radio down in Florida underneath them.
Amazing Atkinson. Charlie's done a nice job. Out of the pin for the Bears. First pitch.
1650. We get Iowa here quite a bit. The Spanish station is probably El Paso. Probably. Could be Colorado. Probably not, though. 1660 is Waco. Yeah, I figured it might be them. They're usually the big one. $9.3. Who's the weak one there? Might be a TIS or something. 1640. Still Oklahoma and Wisconsin. 1630. There's Iowa. And you know who's really taking a hit here is Dallas. I don't hear them on this frequency anymore. They used to battle it out with KCJJ most nights. The Dallas BIN, I don't get them very much here. Let's see if they're on the Northwest Cas here, 1630. Not really. It's Iowa. I've actually heard Wyoming more lately on this frequency than I have Dallas. I think they might be underneath there a little bit, but it's not much. And 1620.
What that will be, and that's the decision that I'll make. But as I mentioned before, I don't think you should have to caucus one way or the other. You should have the option as an independent to just not associate yourself with one caucus or the other.
Certainly understandable, but you're going to have to until you change the rules. So that was the reason for the question. Because you're because you're going to be an independent, does that free you up to criticize President Trump?
If that's sports in there, that's Omaha. Rick, is that station underneath with the sports? Is that your local? Because that's new if it is.
To voice that in a constructive way. I mean, my approach is generally one of let's look for ways we can build bridges and find common ground. And so I've worked with this administration closely in a lot of ways, just as I worked with the last administration.
That would be new.
The latter half of the Biden administration. And, maybe my most important legislative victory passing was called the Lake Tahoe Restoration Act. I represent Lake
Sounds
Tahoe.
like Fox Sports.
Signed into law by President Biden. So I don't know that, changing the designation is any more liberating. I think it just reflects...
I'm kind of surprised. It's either them or WTAW, one of the two. Doing like local sports or something.
Republicans say one thing in private and say something else in public, and he pointed to Lindsey Graham as one of those people. Do you find that to be the case, that they say one thing in private and something else in public?
I don't know in any sort of, pattern.
Take care, Mike.
Systematic way,
Appreciate you, man.
Probably some extra filter that people put on in their, when they're speaking in public. But, there's probably some truth to the idea that within the parties you've always had people who are willing to voice criticisms internally that they wouldn't want to voice externally. So I guess to that extent there's some truth to it.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this bombing in Iran?
Well, the paramount objective here is one that I think we should all be able to agree upon, which is that one of the most evil regimes in history should not get a stance on the most powerful weapon in history. And so, conceiving of the mission and the objective in those terms and sort of the things that are necessary to ultimately achieve that, I think there's room to
Man, there are no good Kiwis up around your neck of the woods.
of the highest level of sports. Now, of course, seeing Iran taking a lot of steps to try to escalate the conflict and expand it geographically to other Gulf states. And so I'm keeping a very close eye on exactly what's happening. And
We're going to do the Kiwi echo trick. Let's throw this one to the left. That's them. Yeah, that's new. That's KOZN. All right. I've been chasing these guys for a while. I have been chasing these guys since I moved here in 2021. And that's new. So yeah, we'll take that one. And a little bit of... There we go. Awesome. I'll put them in the logbook and add them for my challenge for this week. And we'll see if we can use that to help us out here. So let's do a really quick look at the Tropo forecast before we adjourn, because it is looking interesting. So here's our, let me actually, I don't refresh. There's not anything new. Let's see. Right now it is 0200. So let's go to 0300. So this is what the Tropo is supposed to look like right now. And I'm saying this because look at all this up here into Alabama, into Georgia, along the Carolina coast. Look at all this. This is a nice March Tropo opening down here in the southeast. This is the kind of stuff we see here a lot in the southeast here for Tropo. This is what we typically see. And it's only going to get better from here. So now this is 1 o'clock in the morning. This is about 3 hours, a little over 3 hours, 3 or 4 hours. It's going to be a little bit expanded, and it's getting stronger over here as we are looking into Texas. It's going to continue to push in. Now we're talking about Boot Crew North, most of Mississippi, almost all of Alabama and Georgia into South Carolina, all on the coastline. This is a nice southeast Tropo opening. Not crazy strong. We're in the moderate to high range as far as strength of the opening, with quite a few folks there on the fringe, right there in the fair range. But at least I think there's a shot that quite a few folks here in the southeast can get on this tonight. This is at 0400 Central Time, 0900 UTC, so 0400 Central Time. So this is about 4 o'clock in the morning here. You see how it's really pushing in now to Arkansas, and it continues to push in as we get now to 7 a.m. This is 7 a.m. local time here in New Orleans, Central Time. Look at all of Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia into Arkansas. Now we're starting to see that green up into Arkansas. A little bit of yellow starting to peek in right here around Texarkana. We've got some nice stuff right here off the coastline. Florida looking pretty decent as well. Most of Florida covered in the fair. And we even have some stuff down here in the Gulf, so that should be providing an opportunity for these coastal stations to be heard well inland. Into Texas, all up into Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, down here. So some good Tropo here. Now it starts to dissipate a little bit as we get into the day tomorrow, Saturday, and starts to push off the coastline. A little bit kind of residual here in Arkansas, northern Alabama, northern Georgia, into parts of Tennessee. And now we get into Sunday, and now here we have the push starting again. Here along the Carolina, Georgia coastline, Florida, and starting to push in again from the southwest Gulf and through Texas, Louisiana, and southwest Louisiana, pushing further in. Now we're starting to see a nice band up in here into Tennessee, into Kentucky, Alabama, Arkansas, and a little bit of Missouri even getting in, a little hook here in Missouri getting in on the action. Then we get to 5 a.m. Central on Sunday. This is Sunday morning now. Most of Louisiana is in the yellow. Quite a bit of Arkansas here, eastern Arkansas, western Mississippi, most of eastern Texas. Some nice, big, strong stuff down here to the south towards Mexico. And look at this over here in the Carolinas. Well inland in the Carolinas. You guys are going to be getting in a little bit. A little bit showing up here into the Great Lakes. A little bit showing up in here into New England as well. Perhaps a little fair bit of Tropo here into New England on Sunday morning. Starts to clear out during the day. Look at that nice big red blob off the Texas coast. What's that going to do? Well, as we get into Sunday night into Monday morning, it gets a little bit closer. Now, if that pushes a little bit further north, we could have some pretty nice Tropo conditions here in the Gulf South. But it looks like it's going to pretty much kind of pass right by as we get into, Monday morning. Looks like we have another front coming through here. That's when you usually will see this on the Tropo forecast. You see this kind of clear line where it's kind of Tropo out ahead and then kind of not much behind it. That's usually an indication of a cold front. It stabilizes the atmosphere a bit and kills the Tropo. And you can see it as you progress through the slides. You can actually see that line just clear out the Tropo. So we do have some forecasted cooler weather heading our way. Next week as we get into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think it highs like in the 50s. Well, now I'm seeing that on the Tropo forecast. Nice little bit of warm weather here out ahead of the front, but then the front comes in and just pushes it right out of the way. And that's going to clear until some of those temperatures start to rebound towards the latter part of the week. Then we start to see that Tropo creeping back in again. So if you're looking for any kind of Tropo fun, you're going to want to do it before this front really gets going here. So you've got tonight. And for those of us in the southeast, you've got tonight and into tomorrow morning or so, and then after that, things will start into the day on Sunday. Things will start to kind of break up, and then that front comes through overnight Sunday into Monday and clears it out. So I would say tonight and tomorrow is your shot at any Tropo here on the FM band if you're in the southeast. The pretty much all of Florida up into the Carolina coast. Pretty much all of Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi. Not super strong, but it's going to have some folks. You're going to see some Tropo in there. Texas, Louisiana, definitely. Arkansas, definitely going to see some. Even in parts of Oklahoma up in here. Parts of Kentucky getting in on the action a little bit in here as well, in Tennessee. Right about there. Look at that little boost up in Kentucky and Tennessee as that kind of heads out right in front of the front, and then you see the front come through and clear it out. So a couple of days here of some tropo for quite a few folks. Should be interesting. Now let's look out west. Usually not a whole lot out here out west because it's usually pretty dry. But we like to make sure we keep an eye on it for our friends out west. Starting with, let's get to current time. So a little bit pushing in here into California, up in Northern California. Right up in here, you see a little bit pushing in. Always down here in the Baja, always kind of popping off. A little bit of pushing in here into California. So this is kind of typical what we normally would see as far as kind of that California tropo. But look up in here into Oregon, getting a little bit of a push here up into Oregon and Portland, up towards Seattle, kind of pushing towards that Oregon-Washington state border, getting a little bit there. This is on Sunday around 1 o'clock, Sunday afternoon. So we look here, it pushes through. And look at that boom. Look at that big explosion of tropo right off the California-Oregon coast. And then it starts to push in. Now we're starting to see a little bit up into Washington. And then it kind of dips back a little bit until we get into Sunday night. And then it kind of pushes back in here all up and down the Pacific Northwest coast here in Oregon, Washington. You guys have a shot at some pretty decent tropo up in here. Thinking of our friend Kyle up in Washington. And again here on Tuesday, another nice little coastal tropo showing up Tuesday as well. And down in California, look at this. Look at all the tropo we're seeing down here in California kind of pushing inland along some of the mountain ranges. And that should be most of it. Yeah, I think there's a couple little scattered spots in here at parts, but for the majority of you guys, it's going to be Oregon, Washington coast, and kind of the immediate coastline of California a couple points in the week. So that's a look at the tropo forecast for the rest of the week. Is cold fronts a buzzkill for all of us on FM? Those cold fronts clear it out, man. Because what it does is it stabilize the cold air. The reason we have tropo, as a reminder, is you have cold air at the surface, you have warmer air above it. And so that creates an inversion layer, and that creates these ducts that radio waves can bounce off of. It's why sometimes if you're at the beach, you might see like a ship, looks like it's hovering over the water. That's because the light is literally being bent by the condensation, essentially, of the cold air below and the warmer air above it. When you have a cold front come through, it now puts cold air at all layers of the atmosphere, all the way down. That stabilizes everything, gets rid of the tropo, and that's it. And then your DX conditions are done. So yeah, when you see a cold front, if you see cold temperatures coming your way in the forecast, just know that when that comes through, right before you have some pretty good tropo usually, because there's warm air out in front of those fronts, front of the front. There's usually some warm air, warm, moist air out in front of it. And this time of the year, especially at night, that cools off at the surface, but up above it, it's usually a bit warmer. That's why we get tropo this time of the year. And so this time of the, you can look and see if you have those kind of chillier days in your forecast a day or two before that when it's nice and warm. That's when you want to be looking at tropo, and that's exactly what we're seeing for the southeast here over the next couple of days. So that's going to do it for us tonight for DX Central Live, my friends. For our sponsors, the International Radio Club of America, IRCAOnline.org. For the National Radio Club, nationalradioclub.org. And the Spectrum Monitor magazine, thespectrummonitor.com. We want to thank our sponsors for their continued support here of DX Central Live. And for our patrons, thank you for your support. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our patron-exclusive Zoom call that we had last week, talking about using the Google Suite for logging. Hopefully that was helpful for you and gave you some things to kind of chew on. If you are not a patron and you want to be able to check that out and some of the other little perks of being a member, like early access to our challenges, videos, podcast episodes, stuff like that, just go to patreon.com/DXCentral and you can sign up today. From all of us here at DX Central, my friends, take care. 73 Best of DX. We'll see you next time. Now let's go back and hit the bands.
Friday night rolls in the air, tuning in without a care. Lloyd Van Horn takes the stage.
This is DX Central Live. This is DX Central Live. This is DX Central Live.